Chapter 1581. Within 10 days, the law enforcement elder had sent all the clansmen into the mystic realm. The Earth Imperial Universe was connected to many secret areas. Patriarch of Law Enforcement sent someone to control some of the more obscure ones. Kumang built a teleportation formation so that people could teleport directly from the Great Land City. Not many people from the Heaven Reverse universe had migrated over. 10 days was enough for them to teleport away. The Earth Imperial Universe was able to deal with the aftermath. Patriarch of Law Enforcement arranged for some powerful warriors to go to those cities to heal the wounded and rescue the dying to stabilize the Earth Imperial Universe. At the same time, all the cities made announcements, stating that Luli had returned from the divinity and that he had killed all the invading armies. At the Earth Imperial Universe, people were in a state of panic. Now they had calmed down. For them, Luli was an immortal. There was nothing that a true god could not do. As long as Luli was around, nothing would be a problem. Luli left on the 9th day. He did not waste the 9 days. He had been trying to figure out how to solve the worms of the void. He didn't dare to ask the Patriarch of Law Enforcement or anyone else, because Emperor Hung had died when he came back. It meant that Emperor Hung had no way to save him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have died. Therefore, there was no need for him to ask. Asking would only make them worry all day. Luli didn't go directly to the entrance where Luo Yi was. Instead, he went out from the hidden entrance. He wasn't that stupid. If Luo Yi had made some arrangements over there, the Immortal World Supreme would probably be able to kill him in a second. He didn't take anyone with him. Everyone had gone to the secret realm. There was no one from the 4 families in the Earth Imperial Universe. His speed was very fast, and it only took him half a day to get out. He then entered stealth and slowly moved towards Luo Yi's direction. Although he was confident that he had a 70% chance of suppressing Luo Yi, there was always an exception to everything, right? Moreover, the Supremes of the immortal world had too many tricks up their sleeves. If they were not careful, they could be killed. After spending half a day, he arrived near the entrance. He took out 3 divine mountains and flew around him. He held the demon slaughtering blade in his hand and the thunder armor on his body. Fully armed, he slowly approached the other side. Luli was 150 miles away from Luo Yi when he used psychic power. If it were not for the fact that Luli was sensitive to space, he would not have sensed it. Luo Yi's divine will. Luli thought of something. His expressions didn't change. He pretended that he didn't sense the psychic power and kept moving forward. That powerful psychic power had been locked on to Luli. But it was like a gust of wind that could not be detected by the average person. Luo Yi opened his eyes as well. He smiled and said, "Luli is here. Pretend that you don't see him. Do not use psychic power. Get ready to strike at any time. When he's within 30 kilometers of us, you guys attack immediately. I'll wait for an opportunity and try to kill him in one go." All right. Patriarch Lu and the other patriarch put on a cruel smile. Many of their descendants were killed by Lu Li as well. He and Lu Li were irreconcilable enemies. It was said that Lu Li was resourceful, and it was easy for him to kill super mighty warriors in the divinity. However, Luo Yi was here, and they knew very well how powerful Luo Yi was. As long as Luo Yi launched a sneak attack, Lu Li would die for sure. 100 li, 80 li, 50 li. Luo Yi reported the distance to Lu Li in a low voice. He noticed that Lu Li had not sensed anything and was sneaking over quietly. Luo Yi's smile grew wider. As a matter of fact, Luo Yi was confident that he could kill Lu Li when Lu Li was within 25 miles. He never thought that Lu Li could kill him. The Supreme Realm in the divinity was a watershed. Supreme Realm warriors in the divinity had to go through heaven's tribulation. Their bodies and souls would be transformed. Luo Yi knew the power of the Wrath of Thunder, and he knew it could not kill him. For Supreme Realm warriors in the divinity, mighty warriors and super mighty warriors were all puny beings. There was a qualitative difference in their abilities. If Luo Yi wanted to kill Patriarch Lu and the other patriarch, it would be a piece of cake. Therefore, Luo Yi didn't care about Lu Li's abilities at all. As far as he was concerned, Lu Li was already a dead man. 15 miles. Luli moved closer and closer without making any noise. Luo Yi could tell that Luli didn't use psychic power, and his expressions didn't change. It meant that Luli wanted to sneak up on him with the wrath of thunder when he got closer. Haha. When Luli was 15 miles away, Luo Yi noticed that Luli had taken out the wrath of thunder. Luo Yi put on a sarcastic smile and said, Luli has taken out the wrath of thunder. Be careful. Don't attack him for real. Just feint and distract him. I will end his life. Okay. The two patriarchs were more relieved. Luo Yi's sneak attack skills were amazing. The Hall of Darkness was a dark path as well. All the skills they passed down were sneak attacks. Not even the average Supreme Realm warriors in the Divinity could survive Luo Yi's sneak attack, let alone Luli. 6 miles, eh? When Luli was 6 miles away, Luo Yi suddenly noticed that Luli had stopped and was still sitting on the spot. A hill that was flying around Luli flew up to the sky. At the same time, Luli took out some formation stones. It seemed that he was ready to build a formation. Formation! Ha ha ha! Luo Yi was overjoyed. Luli was trying to kill them with a formation. How naive! How could Luo Yi let go of such a good opportunity? He signaled to the two patriarchs and said, Do it! Kill Luli! Whoosh! The two super mighty warriors made their moves. They dashed toward Luli from the left and the right respectively. They took out their weapons at the same time. In an instant, they reached Luli's sides and were ready to attack at the same time. Luli, who was in the middle of building the formation, sensed something. He suddenly looked up and looked to both sides. The wrath of thunder in his hands glowed. He was about to throw the wrath of thunder at the two patriarchs. At the same time, he stepped back quickly, trying to dodge their attacks. Luli stepped back clumsily and in a panic. Clearly, he was frightened. The two patriarchs released 2 Xian energy at the same time. Seeing Luli's reaction, the two patriarchs grinned cruelly. Because, on the other side, Luo Yi was approaching Luli in a blur. A black hook appeared in Luo Yi's hand. It was the famous Rakshasa hook, stained with the blood of many powerful warriors. As far as the two patriarchs were concerned, as long as Luo Yi was close, he would cut off Luli's neck mercilessly. Not even the supreme relic armor could stop him. Luo Yi had a strange skill that could shake the artifact's spirit and formation in the relic armor directly, rendering the relic armor temporarily ineffective. Luli, go to hell. Luo Yi approached Luli's back in a blur of light. He walked out from the shadows, like a messenger from hell. There was no fluctuation in space or sound of wind. He came to Luli's back soundlessly. Aha! Luli turned around suddenly. He looked at the hook that was growing larger in his sight. He grinned and said, Luo Yi, I have been waiting for you. Whoosh, a small mountain that was flying around Luli flew over. Since the distance was so close, Luo Yi could not react in time. The mountain smashed into Luo Yi. Bang! A strong force knocked Luo Yi away. He could not even hold on to the hook as it was smashed away. Luo Yi could not believe his eyes. Just now, he used the hook to hack at the mountain. He didn't expect this result. No! Before Luo Yi could come back to his senses, it was getting dark in the sky. A mountain with a height of more than 30 miles was pressing down at a horrifying speed. Luo Yi was stunned for the time for one breath, so it was too late to react. Chapter 1582. Patriarch Lu and the other patriarch were taken aback, especially when they sensed that Luo Yi was trapped under the mountain and could not move. The two patriarchs were astonished. Grandmaster, Patriarch Lu yelled. He stopped where he was, forgetting to move or attack. He sensed that Luo Yi was trapped like a dead dog, unable to move or move. Patriarch Lu was dumbfounded. Supreme warrior in the divinity. Luo Yi ranked 83 on the list. How many warriors were there in the divinity? To be ranked 83, Luo Yi was the most powerful warrior in the divinity. They knew better than anyone else how powerful supreme warriors in the divinity were. For mighty warriors and super mighty ones in the divinity, they were invincible. Now, Luli had suppressed Luo Yi so easily that Luo Yi could not move. How do you expect them to believe their own eyes and accept the facts in front of them? Okay now, Luli was relieved after he checked. Supreme warriors in the divinity were too dangerous. Just now, Luli's mind was strained to the extreme. He had planned for a long time before he created such a good opportunity. He had taken the risk to be so close to Luo Yi. One wrong move, and he could have fallen into a bottomless abyss. What Luli did was successful. Luo Yi and the two patriarchs made the mistake of underestimating their enemy, which created a good chance for Luli to suppress Luo Yi. It had been proven that the mountain could suppress supreme warriors in the divinity. However, supreme warriors in the divinity were too fast. If Luli could not suppress them once and for all, and Luo Yi could escape, it would be troublesome later on. Luli might not have another chance. Either Luo Yi could escape, or Luo Yi could find a chance to kill him. Now that Luo Yi was suppressed, Luli didn't care about the other two super mighty warriors in the divinity. For him, he could kill the two super mighty warriors in the divinity. Whoosh, the two super mighty warriors reacted quickly. They dashed over like swords. They knew they must kill Lu Li or save Luo Yi at once. Otherwise, the situation would be completely under Lu Li's control. Lu Li sneered. He waved his arm, an invisible force in heaven and earth pressed down. The other patriarch could not move. Patriarch Lu could move, but he was as slow as a snail. Die. Patriarch Lu's eyes were filled with terror. He waved the saber in his hand and hacked at it. The saber turned into a shadow and turned into a huge beast. It let out a shocking roar and rushed toward Lu Li. Not bad. Lu Li nodded, but he did not step back. He didn't even use the mountain to defend himself. He swung the demon slayer. When the saber was unleashed, the world was shocked. A saber light whistled out, immediately drawing in the power of space in all directions. That was why this saber light was so powerful that even the wind and clouds seemed to change color. A terrifying pressure came crashing down on Elder Lu, causing him to feel a fatal sense of danger in his soul. The saber light suddenly stopped and changed direction. The originally earth-shattering saber suddenly changed direction. This made people feel very uncomfortable, and they had the urge to vomit blood. Elder Lu's eyes lit up. Didn't that mean that the danger had been averted? The saber radiance was no longer aimed at him. So how could anything happen to him? Something's wrong. Patriarch Lu came to his senses at the next second. Even though the saber light had changed direction, the sense of danger in his soul was even stronger. Soon, he squinted because the saber light had changed direction and was coming at him again. This time, it was several times more powerful. The force in heaven and earth was several times more powerful. Patriarch Lu felt that this was a powerful attack from a supreme warrior in the divinity. How is this possible? The other elders' eyes were filled with disbelief. How could a single person's attack suddenly turn around halfway? Or did it change direction twice? What was more puzzling was that every time it changed direction, the power would be several times stronger. It seemed that the change took a long time, but in fact, it was completed in an instant. Boom! The beast that Patriarch Lu's relic weapon had transformed into was cut into pieces. It was as if a sharp relic weapon had landed on a tiger made of paper. Then the saber light moved on and landed on Patriarch Lu. Patriarch Lu's body turned into a piece of paper as well. He was cut in half neatly. Ghost King cut. This is the move that made the Ghost King of the land of Yuyin famous. From the foot of the mountain came a cry of surprise. Luo Yi shouted, "Brother Chong, go to the Earth Imperial Universe right now. Even if you die, you must bury Lu Li and his family." Buzzing. A surge of energy spread out from the foot of the mountain. Then, Lu Li's spatial force was broken. A glint of determination rose in the other patriarch's eyes. He dashed toward the entrance of the Earth Imperial Universe like a bolt of lightning. Patriarch Lu was much more powerful than him. Now that Patriarch Lu was killed by Lu Li in one move, Patriarch Lu was doomed. Why not drag Lu Li's family and everyone in the Earth Imperial Universe down with him? Patriarch Lu knew about Ghost King. He did not know much about the Ghost King cut, But Ghost King was famous. He was one of the 9 immortals of the land of Yuyan. Since this was the move that made Ghost King cut famous, then there was no doubt about Lu Li's abilities. It was a piece of cake for Lu Li to kill super mighty warriors in the divinity. Just now, Patriarch Lu was immobilized by the force in heaven and earth, courting death. Seeing the Patriarch dashing toward the entrance of the Earth Imperial Universe, Lu Li was enraged. If the Patriarch dashed in, the Earth Imperial Universe might collapse. By then, the billions of people in the universe would be minced. Lu Li would be guilty. Creak! Lu Li yelled. A mountain dashed out like a bolt of lightning. Lu Li was much faster than the Patriarch. The divine mountain expanded in the air until it was 1,000 feet wide. It quickly flew to the side of the Elder, then slid in an arc and suddenly collided with Elder Chong. Bang! Not even Luo Yi could stand the impact of the mountain, let alone the Patriarch. He was smashed away. Lu Li chased after the Patriarch. When he was close enough, he hacked at the Patriarch with the Demon Slayer. The moment the saber slashed down, the Elder's fate was sealed. The moment the saber slashed down, the heaven and earth power began to suppress him. The Elder could not move at all and could only watch as the saber light whistled towards him. In the end, the Patriarch let out a scream. However, because of the suppression, his voice turned into a beast-like growl. Like Patriarch Lu, he was cut in half. At the same time, on the other side, the God Mountain suddenly emitted a dazzling light. The God Mountain was actually pushed up. Then, Luo Yi transformed into a stream of light and floated away into the distance. What? Lu Li was taken aback. He looked over in astonishment. How could Luo Yi run away from the mountain? How could he be so powerful that he could lift up the mountain? Lu Li, wait and see. Chapter 1583. Master, I'm sorry. Just now, that person suddenly burst forth with a powerful force and pushed up the mountain. I was careless for a moment and let him escape. Yaao flew the mountain over and said, Lu Li did not blame Yaao. The Supremes of the God Realm are very powerful and have thousands of tricks up their sleeves. Didn't you Qing Tian escape back then? Just now, Luo Yi asked Patriarch Chong to rush into the Earth Imperial Universe to distract Lu Li. Luo Yi must have paid a heavy price. Otherwise, he wouldn't have run away as soon as he got out. He would have found a chance to kill Lu Li. He ran away because he was injured and couldn't kill Lu Li. He was afraid that Lu Li would kill him, so he ran away. Lu Li sighed. He couldn't kill Luo Yi this time. Maybe it would be more difficult to kill him in the future. What was more, there would be endless troubles. Like what Luo Yi said before he left. The next time he came, he would bring many immortals with him. Could Lu Li protect the Earth Imperial Universe by himself? Moreover, the next time Luo Yi came, it was very likely that he would bring Elder Kwong, Elder Leopard, and the others with him. At that time, would he be able to suppress several divine World Supreme Masters? It was obviously impossible. Guards! Lu Li shouted. Several scouts came from the distance. They were from the Earth Imperial Universe. Lu Li had already ordered them to hide nearby and wait for his summons. Emperor! The scouts bowed. Lu Li waved his hand and said, Mobilize a large number of scouts to monitor the Prison of Gold, Prison of Ice, and Prison of Wind. Report to me at once if there are any strange warriors or unusual situations. If the scouts were not strong enough, go to the Wind Prison was already their limit. If he let the scouts go to the Dark Prison, they would all die in a short time. He didn't have a good way to deal with it at the moment, so he could only send people to monitor them. Whoosh, he flew around the Prison of Gold and searched for Luo Yi. After making sure that Luo Yi had returned to the divinity, he returned to the Earth Imperial Universe. When he arrived at the Divine City, he did not send a message to Patriarch of Law Enforcement and Lu Renwang. He did not go to sea by Qiushua either. Instead, he stood alone in the castle in the Divine City, lost in his thoughts. The Void Worm continued to split, and he didn't have any good ideas at the moment. Although he had repelled Luo Yi this time, it had brought about an even greater hidden danger. His brows were furrowed tightly, and his expression became somewhat unsightly. He felt as if a mountain was pressing down on him, and he found it difficult to breathe. Whoosh, he pondered for half a day and then walked into a castle. Inside the castle was an altar and a statue of Emperor of Heaven Reverse. There were many things he did not know what to do. He wanted to discuss with Emperor of Heaven Reverse. Emperor of Heaven Reverse might not be as powerful as Luli. That being said, Emperor of Heaven Reverse had lived for hundreds of thousands of years and had experienced many things. He possessed wisdom in life. It was always a good idea to ask for his opinion. Soon, the statue lit up. A surge of energy spread out. Emperor of Heaven Reverse said, "Luli, have you returned to the Earth Imperial Universe? So fast. What's the situation now?" Luli bowed and said, "Yes, Your Majesty. I have been back for several days. Not long ago, I defeated Luo Yi and killed 2 of his men." "Ah, that's great." Emperor of Heaven Reverse was overjoyed. His eyes glowed as he exclaimed, "Luli, you are amazing. You have returned to the 9 universes and defeated a supreme warrior in the divinity. How old are you? Your future is limitless. Maybe you can overturn the 4 legendary forces and become the master of the divinity." Master of the divinity? Luli was even more frustrated. He shook his head and said, "Your Majesty, I am not here to tell you about my victory. I am here to ask for your help." "Really?" Emperor of Heaven Reverse could tell that Luli's tone was not right. "What is it? What happened?" After a moment of silence, Luli replied with a sigh, "Your Majesty, I was poisoned by worms of the void in the turbulence of time and space." "What?" Emperor of Heaven Reverse was taken aback. "You were really poisoned by worms of the void? How could you be so careless? Worms of the void are one of the most vicious. Many powerful warriors in the divinity have died to them. It is pointless to talk about this now." Luli waved his hand. "Your Majesty, do you know if there is a cure for the worms of the void? Is there a way to kill them?" "No." Emperor of Heaven Reverse's answer made Luli grimmer. Over the course of history, many have been poisoned by worms of the void, but those that are known have all died. So far, nobody has announced that they can cure the worms of the void. Maybe someone has, but no one knows about it. Maybe the 4 legendary forces have the ability to do so as well. But what is known is that nobody can do it. Maybe Emperor of Heaven Reverse continued after a pause. "If you can go back to the divinity, maybe you can go to Green Valley Hermit. It is said that he is the most knowledgeable about poisons in the divinity. His realm is not high, only at the level of a mighty warrior in the divinity. But his poisons can kill supreme warriors in the divinity. Also, he once killed a supreme warrior in the divinity, which shocked the divinity. But nobody knows his relationship with the 4 legendary forces. If you go to him and he is close to the craftsman's sect, he might poison you to death directly." Green Valley Hermit? What a strange name. Luli's eyes flickered. He could not make up his mind. What Emperor of Heaven Reverse said was true. If Green Valley Hermit was close to the craftsman's sect, then Luli could be poisoned to death. Or Green Valley Hermit could inform the craftsman's sect secretly and have them send some powerful warriors over to kill Luli. Luli thought for a while and brought up the second matter. "Emperor, let's not talk about Green Valley Hermit for now. Luo Yi has run away. Before he left, he said that he would come down with more warriors, possibly from the craftsman's sect. He wants to wipe out the 9 universes and all the nearby universes. If that is the case, I cannot stop so many warriors on my own. If some supreme warriors from the divinity come down, I will not be able to do anything." Well, Emperor of Heaven Reverse said nothing. If the craftsman's sect was so shameless, then they might send some supreme warriors from the divinity with a large number of warriors. By then, all the universes would be in danger. For immortals, destroying several mortal universes was not a big deal. Mortal beings could reproduce quickly. In tens of thousands of years, there would be another 10 billion human beings. Therefore, for immortals, destroying worlds was not a big deal. It was just like slaughtering a group of beasts. You must go back to the divinity. A moment later, Emperor of Heaven Reverse said, "You must go back to the divinity as soon as possible." Before you come up from the prison of thunder, build a strong inhibition formation there to block off the passage to the divinity. As long as the divinity cannot ascend to the divinity, the bridge between the divinity and the divinity will be cut off. They will not be able to teleport to the divinity. Really, Luli was surprised. That was easy. He could build a formation to seal off the entrance to the towering mountain in the prison of thunder. That being said, if the seal was not lifted, the warriors of the 9 universes would never be able to ascend to the divinity. Okay, Luli thought for a while and made up his mind. I will go to the divinity as soon as possible and seal off the passage to the divinity for now. When I have the ability and have a firm foothold in the divinity, I can lift the seal. Luli said coldly. Craftsman's sect must have instructed Luo Yi to come down to the divinity. When I go to the divinity, I will make Craftsman's sect pay. I will make it public so that Craftsman's sect will be condemned by all. Chapter 1584. After the discussion with Emperor of Heaven Reverse, Luli set off for the secret realm. Patriarch of Law Enforcement, Lu Runhuang, by Qiushue, Jiang Qiling, and by Xiaoshuang were hiding in a secluded secret realm. Only the Lu family knew about this secret realm. The Lu family regarded this place as their ancestral land. Now that he had found the entrance to the secret realm, Luli was not worried that his entry would cause the secret realm to collapse. The secret realm and the Earth Imperial Universe were connected. If he could enter the Earth Imperial Universe, he could enter the secret realm as well. The entrance was sealed by Kumang with inhibition formations. For Luli, Kumang's inhibition formations were child's play. Luli could crack the inhibition formations easily, not to mention Blood Fairy. Buzz, instead of cracking the formation, Luli had Blood Fairy go into the seal. Not only did she crack the formation, but she also strengthened the seal. After the time for one incense stick to burn, Blood Fairy retracted her tentacles. The seal glowed. Luli stepped into the seal and went in. After a flash of white light, Luli found himself in a valley. The valley was foggy, and there seemed to be 7 or 8 exits. Luli smiled. Clearly, there was a formation of illusion at the entrance. He didn't bother to break it. Looking at Kumang, who was sitting outside, Luli said, Kumang, deactivate the formation of illusion. If I fly out by force, I will destroy your formation. Buzz, the white mist quickly disappeared, and Kumang flew over. He knelt on one knee and said, Greetings, great Emperor. Kumang, you've improved a lot in the past few years. There's a hint of a divine restriction now. Luli nodded with appreciation. Then his ring lit up, and he took out dozens of restriction books and handed them to Kumang. Kumang, these are the restriction books of the divine world. Read them carefully. They will be of great help to you. Luli didn't give Kumang any books on inhibition formations that were too advanced for him. Kumang's realm and soul were too low for him to understand the profound inhibition formations. Therefore, this was the best Luli could do for him. Thank you, great Emperor. Kumang was overjoyed. He loved formations and restrictions the most. Luli nodded. He asked a few questions and then flew up. He could see everything clearly with psychic power. The secret realm was not large. There were 3 cities in the secret realm that were not far away. Lu Renhuang and the others were in the big city in the middle. Soon, Lu Li's psychic power stopped on the 3 girls. They were all in the backyard of a manor. A very seductive woman in a red robe was drinking tea with a calm expression on her face. A woman in a white dress was sitting cross-legged on the side, quietly cultivating. The other woman in a green dress was pacing back and forth with an anxious expression on her face. Her beautiful eyebrows were furrowed into the shape of a chuan. The 3 women were all top-notch beauties. Time had not left a single trace on their faces, and they were still as beautiful as young girls. In particular, the woman in the white dress and the woman in the green dress were twins. They looked exactly the same, but their temperaments were completely different. When they stood together, they would dazzle anyone who saw them. Qiling, Qiushue, Xiaoshuang. Tears welled up in Lu Li's eyes. His psychic power was trembling. Bai Qiuxiue was sensitive. She opened her eyes at once. Jiang Qiling's hand that was holding the teacup trembled. Even Bai Xiaoshuang felt something was wrong. She raised her head and looked into the sky in confusion. Whoosh! Lu Li sped up to the top of his speed. In an instant, he landed in the yard as if he had appeared out of thin air. Bai Xiaoshuang saw Lu Li. She thought she was hallucinating. She rubbed her eyes and then walked over timidly. She reached out to Lu Li's arm, wondering if she was hallucinating. Jiang Qiling's teacup was tilted and the tea was dripping down. She smiled. She did not shed tears, but her eyes reddened out of instinct. Bai Qiushue's smile was radiant. She stood up and said gently, "Darling, welcome home." Lu Li's eyes were watery. He forced himself to hold back his tears. He hugged Bai Xiaoshuang and waved to Jiang Qiling and Bai Qiushue. Whoosh! When Lu Li waved, Jiang Qiling and Bai Qiushue could not be reserved anymore. They rushed over and hugged Lu Li tightly. Bai Xiaoshuang had begun to cry. It had been so many years, and yet Bai Xiaoshuang's character had not changed much. She was still an innocent and romantic girl who cried and threw tantrums. The four of them hugged each other without saying anything. Bai Qiushue and Jiang Qiling could suppress their emotions. Bai Xiaoshuang, on the other hand, was in a daze. Her tears drenched Lu Li's clothes. Lu Renwang and Lu Zhengyang sensed that Lu Li was back, but they did not go over to ask or disturb him. The fact that Lu Li could come back meant that he had defeated Lu Oyi, if not killed him. They had not seen each other for a long time, and Bai Xiaoshuang was crying so hard. Lu Renwang and Lu Zhengyang did not have the heart to disturb their reunion. They had not seen each other for a long time. Bai Xiaoshuang was crying so hard that Lu Li did not have the heart to disturb their reunion. After the time for 3 incense sticks to burn, Lu Li had to stop them. It was not that he wanted to stop them, but he felt the worms of the void were about to move. Therefore, he must find a way to separate them so that Bai Qiushue and the others would not notice anything. Yes, Bai Xiaoshuang wiped her tears. Lu Li waved his hand and said, "Go back to your room and wait for me. I will go and visit Great-Grandpa and the others." The 3 girls blushed as soon as they heard Lu Li go back to his room. It had been years since the 3 plots of land were plowed. They wondered if they had been abandoned. The 3 girls had forgotten about the pleasure of love. Lu Li's sudden mention of this made the 3 of them feel embarrassed and embarrassed. Lu Li waved his hand and walked to the yard outside. The 3 girls did not feel anything. They went back to their rooms, blushing. At first, Lu Li was walking steadily, but as he walked, he began to tremble. He took 2 healing pellets quickly and moved forward steadily. He tried his best to suppress the trembling. Unfortunately, sweat was dripping down from his forehead. When Lu Li walked out of his yard and walked toward the yard, Lu Renhuang and Patriarch of Law Enforcement, Lu Zhengyang, noticed something was wrong. "Great-Grandpa, Grandpa, Father, don't move." Lu Li noticed that the 3 of them were about to come out. He stopped them at once. If the 3 of them came out, Jiang Qiling and the others would be able to tell that something was wrong. Patriarch of Law Enforcement stopped. Lu Li walked over with sweat on his forehead. By the time he stepped into the hall, Lu Li was soaked in sweat. He slumped on a chair, closed his eyes, and pointed at the wall feebly. Lu Renhuang knew his son well. He activated the inhibition formation at once and asked with concern, "Lu Li, are you hurt?" Patriarch of Law Enforcement walked over. He was about to pour Xian energy into Lu Li's body when Lu Li broke free from Patriarch of Law Enforcement. He shook his head and said, "Don't move. I will tell you later." Lu Li seemed calm, but the 3 of them could see the pain he was suppressing. If it were not for the fact that Lu Li was afraid that they would be worried, he would have been rolling on the ground. Chapter 1585. Poison? For now? The 3 of them were taken aback. Even Lu Li believed it was poison. If it was not life-threatening for now, it would be horrifying. It meant that if the poison was not dealt with properly, Lu Li could lose his life. "Don't worry." Lu Li forced a smile. "I have talked to Emperor of Heaven Reverse. He said that there is a powerful warrior in the divinity that can cure this poison. I will go back to the divinity to find him. I have some reputation in the divinity. He will do me the favor. Luli made it sound easy, but no one knew a son better than a father. Lu Renhuang could tell from Lu Li's bitter smile that something was not right. Lu Renhuang did not say anything. He knew his son well. If there was something good, Lu Renhuang would be happy to share with others. If it was something difficult, Lu Renhuang would shoulder it alone and endure it in silence. Patriarch of Law Enforcement knew Lu Li well. Lu Jingyang, on the other hand, was worried. Lu Li, are you sure? What do you need us to do? I'm fine, Grandpa. Lu Li stood up with a smile. I just don't have any elixirs here. I will be cured when I go back to the divinity. The poison will not kill me. I just don't want Qiling and the others to see it when it takes effect. Keep it a secret from me. I will stay here for 5 days. After that, I will have to go back to the divinity. I have killed 2 of the 3 immortals, and 1 escaped. I must go to the divinity to hunt him down, or else the Earth Imperial Universe will be in trouble. 1 escaped? That supreme warrior in the divinity? Lu Renhuang raised his eyebrows. Lu Li nodded. Lu Renhuang's eyes glowed. Then, Lu Li, you're among the top 100 in the divinity, right? Lu Li grinned. Sort of. At least, I can defeat some of the supreme warriors in the divinity. But the supreme warriors in the divinity are strong. It is difficult to kill them. Powerful, Lu Jingyang exclaimed. He did not know the situation in the divinity. But Emperor of Heaven Reverse was a genius. He had been in the divinity for hundreds of thousands of years and only reached the tens of thousands. It was the same for Yin Tiangang. Many other immortals in the 9 universes either died in the divinity or disappeared. It had been decades since Lu Li became one of the most powerful warriors in the divinity. Lu Li was proud of his grandson. Patriarch of Law Enforcement was not as optimistic as Lu Zhengyang. There was always a hint of gloom on Lu Li's face, which suggested that Lu Li was not enjoying his life in the divinity. Given Lu Li's character, he would make enemies everywhere in the divinity. After a while, he asked, Lu Li, are you going to the divinity with Qiling and the twins? Lu Li was taken aback. He forced a smile and said, I cannot. I cannot take mortals to the divinity with my current abilities. Also, before I go to the divine world, I might seal the thunder prison to prevent people from the divine world from descending. In this case, the people of the 9 realms would not be able to ascend. After I kill that exalt of the god world, I will return to open the lightning prison seal. At that time, I will also study how to bring all of you to the god world. Lu Li's words seemed to be flawless, but Patriarch of Law Enforcement sensed something special. Lu Li was going to seal off the prison of thunder, which must be troublesome. Lu Li should have the ability to bring them up. That being said, Lu Li's trip to the divinity would be dangerous. Therefore, he could not bring anyone. Patriarch of Law Enforcement said nothing. He only patted Lu Li's shoulder. Lu Li responded with a smile. Lu Li did have the ability to bring them to the divinity. He could stop the thunderbolts in the prison of thunder by himself. It would not be a problem for him to bring hundreds of people to the divinity. But why would he bring them to the divinity? To the Emperor of Heaven Reverse? Would the Swords Mountain be safe? He might as well let them stay in the Earth Imperial Universe in peace. At least, it would be safer. There were no more powerful warriors in the 9 universes. The Lu family could unify the 9 universes. Buzzing, Lu Li's finger glowed as he took out some supreme relics and armors. Handing them to Lu Renhuang, Lu Li said, These are the best armors and weapons. With these, not even the average immortals can hurt you. Later, if you want to unify the 9 universes, it will not be a problem. It is up to you. Okay. Lu Renhuang did not refuse. He took them all and planned to distribute them later. Lu Li took out dozens more books and handed them to Lu Renhuang. These are basic skills. You will have a chance to learn them. Lu Renhuang nodded. So many? Lu Renhuang and Patriarch of Law Enforcement, Lu Zhengyang, were shocked. Back then, Yin Tiangang only sent some relics and 1 or 2 low-level skills. How could Lu Li give them dozens of books so easily? Lu Li smiled. If he wanted to, he could have tens of thousands of books. It was just that many mortals could not learn. How many people had he killed over the years? How many interspatial rings did he have? Many of the space rings contained divine incantations and even more low-level divine weapons. Buzzing, Lu Li's ring glowed. Over 1,000 relic weapons appeared in the hall, all of which were low-level ones. Lu Li waved his hand. These are average relic weapons. I have no use for them. Give them to the warriors in your families. Hiss, hiss, the three of them were stunned. How well had Lu Li been doing? How come the relic weapons and skills were tossed on the ground like toilet paper? Okay, Lu Renhuang's eyes glowed. I think it is necessary for us to unify the 9 universes and take control of all the nearby universes. In this way, we will not be in such a passive situation next time. Yes, Lu Xingyang nodded. That is right. When we have all the universes under our control, we will have more places to hide. Nobody will know which universe we are in. Even if immortals come from the divinity, they will not be able to wipe us out. The relic weapons and skills given by Lu Li boosted Lu Xingyang and Lu Renhuang's confidence. What was more, almost all the warriors from the 8 universes were killed. Even if there were 1 or 2 survivors, Lu Renhuang was confident that he could kill them. Okay, Lu Li waved his hand. You go and make arrangements. I don't think there are any more powerful warriors in the 9 universes. Well, that is not right. Why don't I see Astro Emperor or Blood Emperor? Lu Li remembered that half of his master, the Blood Emperor, and that immortal Astro Emperor, who could foresee the future and tell when Lu Li would ascend. According to the information, Luo Yi had almost all the warriors cultivating in seclusion under his control. Given Luo Yi's abilities, Astro Emperor and Blood Emperor could not have escaped his detection. Had the 2 ascended? I don't know. Lu Renhuang shook his head. I have been to the prison of ice, prison of wind, prison of darkness, prison of soul, and prison of thunder, but I have never seen the 2. Either the 2 of them have already passed away, or they have ascended. Never mind. Lu Li waved his hand. Go and make the arrangements. We can leave the Earth Imperial Universe now. I will stay with them for a couple of days, and then I will go to the divinity. Lu Li went to the bathroom in the hall. He took a shower, changed into a clean set of clothes, and went back to the yard. Jiang Qiling and the twins waited in the room obediently. As soon as Lu Li came in, tears welled up in their eyes again. Lu Li pulled a long face and said, "Don't cry. Otherwise, I will stop loving her, and she will be jealous." "Darling, you are so mean," Bai Xiaoshuang jumped to her feet. She tried to hit Lu Li, but he picked her up and threw her onto the bed. Jiang Qiling and Bai Qiushue tried to run away, but Lu Li threw them onto the bed as well. Chapter 1586. Lu Li stayed in the mysterious realm for 5 days. Nothing happened in the prison of ice and wind. Lu Renhuang arranged for people to leave the mysterious realm, while Lu Li stayed with his 3 wives. Every time the worms of the void were about to attack, Lu Li would send a message to Lu Renhuang, who would send someone to fetch Lu Li. In this way, when worms of the void were eating Lu Li, his 3 wives would not notice. There were thousands of worms of the void in Lu Li's body. Basically, they would eat once every 1 or 2 days. In other words, the number of worms of the void would double every 1 or 2 days. 5 days later, Lu Li decided to leave. If he stayed, he would lose his life down there. He could not kill the worms of the void, not even contain them. In a month or 2, the number of worms of the void could reach hundreds of thousands. By then, no matter how good his elixirs were, he would not be able to survive. Lu Li explained to his 3 wives that he must go to the divinity to kill Luo Yi, or else there would be endless troubles. Luo Yi would come down with immortals and slaughter civilians of the 9 universes. Bai Xiaoshuang insisted on leaving the divinity with Lu Li. Lu Li had to say that he could not bring her along. Bai Qiushue stopped Bai Xiaoshuang. Looking at Lu Li tenderly, she said, "Darling, don't worry. Don't worry at home. There is nothing we can do for you in the divinity. We can only stay at home and wait for you to come back. We will always be with you, forever and ever." Lu Li's soul trembled. He sensed something from Bai Qiushue's words. He had been hiding it for the past few days. Unexpectedly, Bai saw through him. Bai was trying to say that if Lu Li died, she would come with him and die with him. Jiang Qiling took Lu Li's arm and said, "Darling, I believe in you. You have always been a man of miracles. For us, you will defeat some enemies. We will wait for you to come back." Bai Xiaoshuang was silly, but Jiang Qiling and Bai Qiuxue were smart and meticulous. They had lived with Lu Li for so many years. How could they not know their man? "I will go now." Lu Li kissed them on their foreheads one by one and hugged them. Then he flew up and looked at Lu Renwang and the others. Lu Li said nothing and flew away in a blur. Jiang Qiling and the other two watched as Lu Li left. They didn't say goodbye or say anything, but their eyes reddened. They all knew that Lu Li had left so casually because he didn't want to make them sad. Goodbyes were always the saddest. They didn't say much because they didn't want Lu Li to feel sad. "Get ready. In 10 days, we will attack the 8 realms. We will unify all the realms within 2 years." Lu Renwang waved his hand. Behind him, Ming Yu and many other powerful warriors took action. They went down to prepare and mobilize their forces. This time, everyone was full of confidence because many of them had obtained divine artifacts. Over 100 people had been bestowed with divine artifacts. Needless to say, there were almost no experts in the 8 realms. Even if there were, they could sweep through them. This time, if everything went smoothly, the Lu family would be able to unify all the nearby universes. By then, the Lu family would have access to more resources. In a few decades, the Lu family would become a super overlord. If everything went well, the Lu family would be able to unify all the nearby universes. By then, the Lu family would have access to resources from many universes. In decades, the Lu family would become a super overlord. Lu Li went to the purgatory of primordial chaos to search level by level in case Luo Yi was lurking. He was fast. In less than half a day, he could search 1 level. Soon, he arrived at the prison of thunder. He was relieved to make sure that Luo Yi was not there. But he built many inhibition formations in the prison of thunder and sealed off the entrances to the prison of soul in case warriors from the lower universe could come to the prison of thunder. In this way, once the inhibition formations in the prison of thunder were triggered, immortals might come. With all this done, Lu Li flew on. The thunderbolts did not do anything to him. He did not even need to take out the thunder armor. He could withstand them with his body. At the towering mountain, Lu Li spent a long time building several inhibition formations, all of which were powerful. He wanted to seal off the entrance completely so that those from the lower universe could not ascend. In that case, those from the divinity would not be able to come down. It took Lu Li more than a day to build 7 layers of inhibition formations. Making sure that everything was in order, Lu Li poured out a ray of Xian energy to activate the inhibition formations and set foot on the last step of the towering mountain. Buzzing, after a glare, Lu Li found himself on an ascension platform. Several prefecture warriors were guarding here. Many immortals were sitting next to them. What? Many immortals thought that Lu Li was someone who had just ascended. However, they could tell that Lu Li's energy was as vast as the ocean. They could not understand. Lord, those prefecture warriors were frightened. Lu Li's energy was as horrifying as their prefecture masters. They would not dare to show any disrespect. Which prefecture is this? Lu Li asked after he checked the surroundings with psychic power to make sure that no powerful warriors were hiding. A prefecture warrior answered at once. Lord, this is the South Sun Prefecture. Oh, Lu Li nodded. He had heard of this prefecture. It was located at the Southern Divinity. After a while, Lu Li threw out a pile of divine sources and said, I have a task for you. Tell them that Craftsman's sect instructed Luo Yi to come down and slaughter the mortal world. I am furious about this. I have decided to get back at Craftsman's sect at all costs. Tell all branches of Craftsman's sect to leave Craftsman's sect at once, or they will suffer my merciless revenge. So many divine sources. Those prefecture warriors were stunned. There were tens of thousands of divine sources in front of them. For them, that was a fortune. Whoosh, Luli had flown away. The prefecture warriors did not have the time to react. One of them recalled what Luli said. All of a sudden, he trembled and shouted, "He is Luli, the god of slaughter? He is going to purge Craftsman's sect?" The other prefecture warriors came back to their senses. They were pale in fright. They could no longer think about the pile of divine sources in front of them. Who would dare to take divine sources from Luli? They would be doomed if they were identified as Lulis. Killing God? This name is so domineering, and this person is so handsome. He's the type that you are like. It would be great if he could become my man. Next to him was a beautiful girl who had just ascended. She murmured as she gazed at the direction Luli flew to. A prefecture warrior was frightened again. He scolded, "Shut up. Do you know who Lord Luli is? That's a supreme expert who stands at the pinnacle of the immortal world. And you still want to seduce him? If you dare to offend my lord again, I'll kill you immediately." The woman didn't dare to speak anymore, but she was obviously not convinced. She pouted slightly and said in a voice that only she could hear, "So what if he's a supreme being expert? Men conquer women by conquering the world, and we women conquer the world by conquering men. Just you wait, Luli, I will definitely conquer you. P.S. Last week, I said that in the future, there will be 3 chapters on weekends. This book will be guaranteed to have 3 chapters a day until the end of the book. Take good care of your body and rest." He still owed 20 to 30 chapters, but he would slowly make up for it. Chapter 1587. Recently, the divinity became lively because Luli, who had been keeping a low profile, showed up again. Moreover, he appeared in several cities one after another and shouted in front of everyone in the city that he was ready to fight the Craftsman's sect head-on. According to Luli's words, the Craftsman's sect seemed to have sent Luo Yi to the mortal world to slaughter the mortals in the mortal world where Luli was. They were going to threaten Luli with his family and people and kill hundreds of millions of mortals. Luli was enraged. That was why he had declared in public that he would confront the Craftsman's sect head-on. He wanted the branch forces of the Craftsman's sect to leave the Craftsman's sect, or they would become his targets. Moreover, he stated that he wanted the Craftsman's sect to hand over Luo Yi and make the Craftsman's sect master publicly apologize. Otherwise, he would continue to attack and would not stop until he was dead. This matter caused a huge reaction in the God realm. The first was that the Craftsman's sect actually sent people to attack the mortal world. He actually used such a despicable method. How could they resort to kidnapping Luli's family and massacred hundreds of millions of civilians in the lower realm? The second reason was that this was the first time Luli had publicly declared war, even though Luli and the Craftsman's sect had always been enemies. In the past, it was the Craftsman's sect that was after Luli. Now, it was Luli who was declaring war against the Craftsman's sect. Third, Luli asked the master of the Craftsman's sect to apologize. This matter was too preposterous. If the sect lord of the Divine Craftsman sect apologized publicly, the reputation of the Divine Craftsman sect would be completely ruined. A single person, a young man who was not even 100 years old, had declared war on one of the 4 superforces. If it was someone else, perhaps everyone would think that he was a lunatic or an idiot. But Luli was different. The Craftsman sect had failed to kill Luli twice, and Luli had killed so many of them. All these proved Luli's strength and miraculous abilities. It was already a miracle that Luli was still alive. Everyone hoped that he could create more miracles. The 4 supreme forces had been dominating for too long. Many people also hoped that Luli could overturn the situation. Only when the situation was broken would everyone have a chance. Soon, Luli made another move. On the 8th day after he returned to the divinity, he appeared in the southernmost prefecture, the South Sea Prefecture. This prefecture was actually secretly controlled by the Craftsman sect. Because this prefecture was close to the sea, there were many divine materials suitable for refining weapons. The Hall of Blood Edge was under Pan Yuqin's control. The Hall of Blood Edge knew many things in the divinity like the back of their hands. Luli could get information from any branch of the Hall of Blood Edge. The craftsman sect had at least 100 subforces and prefectures in the divine realm that they secretly controlled, as well as all kinds of resources and treasures. Luli chose the closest one. He teleported to the South Sea City by himself and killed the city master and powerful warriors there. In total, he killed 6 super mighty warriors, dozens of mighty warriors, and over 400,000 warriors of the Fu Prefecture. At the same time, Luli looted the prefectural city of all the materials and destroyed an island filled with resources. It would take at least 100,000 years to recover. As the news spread, the entire divine realm was in an uproar. Luli had used 6 super mighty warriors, dozens of divinity warriors, and over 400,000 prefecture warriors to demonstrate his wrath, his determination, and his capability. The South Sea Prefecture's prefecture lord, Chun Shirong, was famous in the immortal realm. He was ranked 140th on the god ranking list, and he wasn't too old either. He was an expert who had a high chance of becoming a paragon in the immortal realm. The new list had not come out yet. Even if it did, Luli wouldn't be on it. That being said, many people in the divinity had made a ranking for Luli 101 and 1. There was another ranking, number 1 on the list. He was even more famous than Lu Ling. In other words, many people believe that Luli was the most powerful warrior in the divinity below the level of supreme warriors, and that he could defeat all the super mighty warriors in the divinity. A young man less than 100 years old had become the most powerful warrior below the level of supreme warriors in the divinity. Many old warriors felt ashamed, and they were not convinced at the same time. If it were not for the fact that Luli had ascended to the divinity, many people would have wondered if Luli was trained by some super force. Throughout history, there were warriors who had reached this level before they were 100 years old, but they were few in number. That being said, those who had reached this level would eventually become famous supreme warriors in the divinity as long as they did not die. Holy Princess of the Palace of Snow Mountain grew restless as the story about Luli spread out. Recently, she didn't even dare to cultivate, fearing that she might explode due to cultivation deviation. Lu Shi, Er's family had been treating Pavilion of Misty Drizzle better recently, because he was Lu Li's friend. It was unlikely that Lu Li could overturn the craftsman's sect, but there was always a chance. On the off chance that Lu Li could make a meteoric rise, the Pavilion of Misty Drizzle would benefit from the relationship between Lu Shi and Lu Li. Lu Shi was on cloud 9 every day, not only because of Lu Li, but also because Lu Shi had hooked up with a lady that he had been eyeing for a long time. That lady threw herself into Lu Shi's arms when she heard that Lu Shi and Lu Li were friends. At the peak of a mountain in the middle of the divinity was something special. From the outside, there seemed to be nothing on the mountain. There were even fluctuations of inhibition formations. However, once someone approached the mountain, they would be lost in it. In the end, they would walk around for a while and walk out. There were many stone forts at the peak of the mountain. If one could see it, there must be tens of thousands of stone forts with hundreds of thousands of people living in them. At the moment, in a stone fort at the back, a young man was reading a letter carefully. His eyes were filled with excitement. After several readings, he clenched his fists and said, "Boss, you are amazing. You are amazing. It is a pity that I have not reached the level of a master craftsman in forging artifacts, and I am not a super mighty warrior in the divinity. Otherwise, I would be able to leave the mountain." "Bossly," the young man turned around and looked to the south. "You must live on. You must wait for me. Qian Huanhan is not as capable as you. But if I can follow you, overthrow the craftsman's sect, and build a world with you, my life will be worth it." "Bastard." Qian Huanhan had just finished his words when someone scolded him. Then, a gray-robed old man appeared in front of Qian Huanhan. Qian Huanhan pulled a long face. Still, he bowed and said, "Third Grandpa." "Qian Huanhan." The gray-robed old man glared at Qian Huanhan coldly. "Do not even think about overturning the craftsman's sect. You know the Slayer, right? He was such a famous warrior. Do you really think he died in a dangerous place? He was killed by the Space-Time Office. It is not just him. There have been many talents in history. Many of them even made it to the top 10 of the list. It is okay for them to be enemies with the four forces. But if they hurt the foundation of the four forces, when the four forces show their trump cards, no one in the divinity will be able to stop them. Even if you become the number one on the list, you will die. What? Qin Huanhan's face changed. He said in disbelief. Even the number one on the god list cannot destroy the four forces? How is that possible? Kiki. Chapter 1588. The craftsman's sect was calm. The master craftsman's sect had no intention of shouting. But Patriarch Huang was called back to the city of craftsman's sect. It was said that he stayed at the back hall for several hours. When he came out, he looked awful. Then, Patriarch Huang left the city of craftsman's sect. But this time, he went with another patriarch, an old warrior who had not been around for a long time. It was said that this man was a patriarch of the Hall of Combat of the craftsman's sect several generations ago. He had made great contributions and was extremely powerful. Thousands of years ago, he was ranked top 30 on the list. Later on, he had been cultivating in seclusion, so the list did not list him. That was because the list was not comprehensive enough. There were some powerful warriors from hidden forces who did not want to be known by the outside world. Therefore, they would inform the cabinet of mystery and not list them. Many people believe that there were at least hundreds of supreme warriors in the divinity and tens of thousands of super mighty warriors. It was just that many of them were not listed on the list. The appearance of the old warrior indicated that the Master of Craftsman's sect did not trust Patriarch Huang and Patriarch Bao. It also indicated that the Master of Craftsman's sect was determined to kill Lu Li. Master, please calm down. It is not worth it to hurt your health because of a nobody. In the Infinite Palace to the north of the city of Craftsmen, Luo Huang came in with a cup of tea and massaged the master's shoulders. The master's elegant face put on a smile. Huang, you're a line to make me happy. If Lu Li is a nobody, then there are few big shots in the divinity. Lu Li is the second slayer. But back then, the slayer challenged the Space-Time Office, and Lu Li challenged the Craftsman's sect. I heard that Lu Li has learned the slayer's fundamental principle. His character is similar to the slayer's. They are both unyielding. Yes, Luo Huang nodded. Lu Li has learned the slayer's fundamental principle. His character is similar as well. Just like the slayer, he would rather break than bend. He will become stronger when he meets strong opponents. Such a pity. The sect master suddenly turned his head to look at Luo Huang's exquisite face and sighed. Your grandfather made the wrong decision back then. He didn't fall in love with my Luo Huang girl. If he can become your son-in-law, the craftsman's sect will be able to gain another great help. Sect master, don't joke around with Luo Huang. Luo Huang blushed. She remembered the time when she was pushed into the water by Lu Li. She blushed even more. She sighed in her heart, feeling that it was a pity. There was no doubt that Lu Li was a good son-in-law, not only in terms of talent, looks, and temperament, but also his spirit. How many people in the entire immortal world had such lofty sentiments, such courage, and such boldness to go against one of the four transcendent god forces all by himself? Beautiful women were scarce resources. Beautiful women were usually pursued by many people. After seeing many young elites, their standards would be very high. Very few people could catch their attention, and even fewer could move their hearts. Lu Li's spirit, his courage, and his legendary experience could easily win the hearts of women. However, Luo Huang knew very well that she and Lu Li were not destined to be together in this lifetime, unless she had the courage to leave the craftsman's sect or even go against them. However, her grandfather and family were here, and the sect master of the immortal craftsman's sect was her foster grandmother. How could she help outsiders deal with her own family? Furthermore, as a matter of fact, Lu Li's fate was sealed the moment he went against the craftsman's sect. Unless he went to the land of Yuyin and didn't come to the divinity to stir up trouble, the only outcome for him would be death. Luo Huang had been with the sect master of the craftsman's sect for many years. She knew something about the craftsman's sect. She had only seen the tip of the iceberg, but it was enough to stun her. The craftsman's sect had been entrenched in the divinity for millions of years. They were like a towering tree. What could Luli do, even if he could cut off some roots? Once the craftsman's sect's bottom line was crossed, and they used their trump card, Luli would be reduced to ashes in an instant. It was not a big deal to destroy several branches of the craftsman's sect. However, if Luli kept on attacking, when the craftsman's sect had to use their trump card, not even Luo Huang knew what Luli would be facing. Is it a shame that you can't be with Luli? The sect master suddenly said, which startled Luo Huang. She shook her head at once. Of course not. How can I like Luli? Don't deny it. The sect master shook his head with a smile. If I were your age, I would fall for Luli. There are so many heroes in the world, but few have Luli's character and backbone. He is qualified to win the hearts of all the women in the world. But, Huang'er, you must think this through. A man like Luli is not suitable to be a husband, but a lover. Women need stability. If you have to wander around with a man and worry day and night, is that really what you want? Luli's character has determined his fate. He is a man who will never settle down. Either he rises to the top and stands at the peak, or he will sink into oblivion. You are right, sect master. Luo Huang understands. Luo Huang lowered her head. The light in her eyes dimmed down. She felt bitter as well. Since she was born, Luli was the only man that could move her heart. But clearly, she had fallen out of love before they even started dating. Something big is about to happen. At the same time, in a beautiful garden in the King Pan city, Pan Yuqin exclaimed after receiving the news. She told Luli to go to the divinity and cultivate for a while before coming back. She had a feeling that something would happen to Luli in the divinity. Being hunted down by the craftsman's sect and declaring war against the craftsman's sect were two different things. Once the war was declared, it would be irreconcilable. The craftsman's sect would not compromise with Luli because of their pride. What was more, Luli had said that he would wipe out all the branches of the craftsman's sect. He even asked for information from the Hall of Bloodblade. The matter was getting out of hand. Destroying several branches would not hurt the craftsman's sect too much. But if too many branches were destroyed, the craftsman's sect would have to resort to their trump card. By then, Luli would perish soon, not to mention that he had not reached the level of a supreme warrior in the divinity. Someone, Pan Yuqin thought for a while and said, "Go and find Yi Kai." After a while, Yi Kai came. Pan Yuqin waved her hand and said, "Send a message to Jin Shilai. Tell him to find Lu Li and tell him that he must not attack more than 30 branches of the craftsman's sect. Otherwise, the craftsman's sect will resort to their hidden forces. By then, he will die even if he is as strong as the Slayer." Yes. Yi Kai bowed and left to send the message. Pan Yuqin sighed and was ready to cultivate. However, at that moment, space suddenly trembled. Then, a pair of eyes appeared in midair. Seeing the eyes, Pan Yuqin stood up with respect, bowed and said, "Grandpa." "Little Qin," a gentle voice said, "recently, you have been slacking on your cultivation. Don't be distracted by that punk Luli. A few days ago, I performed a divination on him. You were right. He does have the fate of fire. But there is one thing you didn't know. He has the fate of supernatural beings. Supernatural beings are malefic stars in the sky. Usually, malefic stars do not end well. So, you must not fall in love with him. You are the next Master Pan. You must know your mission." "I understand, Grandpa." Chapter 1589. Soon, Luli made his second move. He destroyed a base of materials at the southern divinity as well. The base belonged to the craftsman's sect. There were 50 to 60,000 warriors stationed here, including 2 super mighty warriors in the divinity. Apart from the miners, everyone else was killed by Luli. Luli even carved some words with his sword, stating that he was the one who did it. The warriors ran away and spread the news. Once again, the divinity was in an uproar. Luli was not joking. He was ready to wage war against the craftsman's sect and wipe out all the branch forces. Many branches of the craftsman's sect were in danger. Many requests for help were sent to the craftsman's city, asking for supreme warriors from the divinity to stay. Many branches did not have supreme warriors from the divinity. Luli could kill super mighty warriors in the divinity easily, and he could come and go without a trace. Who could tell if he would sneak up and kill everyone? The master of the craftsman's sect came up with a plan. He sent many supreme warriors from the divinity to the branches. However, Luo Yi reported what happened in the purgatory of primordial chaos back to the divinity. Many powerful warriors of the craftsman's sect felt troubled. How could Luli defeat supreme warriors in the divinity? Luo Yi was not that powerful, but he was a supreme warrior in the divinity. If one or two of the supreme warriors were killed by Luli, the craftsman's sect would be humiliated. But what could the craftsman's sect do? They could not find Luli. He could attack the remaining branches at any time. The craftsman's sect had to send supreme warriors. Luli stopped. He wanted to continue attacking, but if he delayed any longer, he would soon die. In a couple of days, the number of worms of the void would double. He had no time to waste. He disguised himself and teleported to the western divinity. He did not have time to find Chi Shear and Little White. He went to the Green Valley Herbalists. The Green Valley Herbalists lived in the palace of Kai Yun at the western divinity. There was a large green valley there, which was why the Green Valley Herbalists gave themselves this nickname. The teleportation went smoothly. Lu Li's skin mask helped him a lot. As long as he did not run into supreme warriors in the divinity, no one could tell who he was. There were only so many supreme warriors in the divinity. They were all stationed at the branch forces. Luli would not go to the major cities unless he was unlucky. He teleported day and night for half a month. Finally, he arrived at the palace of Kai Yun. He rested in a small city for half a day and night before he went to the valley. Previously, Luli went to the Hall of Bloodblade to find a way to deal with the worms of the void. They knew that the Green Valley Herbalists were the best in poisons in. If the Green Valley Mountain Dwellers had something to do with the Craftsman's sect or the 4 legendary forces, then Lu Li would be in danger. He had no Lu. He had no other way other than to Lu and he. However, he Li. Soon, he and Lu as he could not. And he. Outside the Valley of Green, Luli used psychic power to check. It was a huge valley filled with lush trees. There were no flowers. It was a vast expanse of greenery. Luli did not enter the valley rashly. He sensed there were sentries at the entrance of the valley. He walked out of the valley, cupped his fists, and said, "I am Luo Yang of the Craftsman's sect. I would like to see you, Hermit of the Green Valley." He Lu. He, bye. Lu. The hidden sentry appeared outside in a flash. He glanced at Lu Li and asked, "What proof do you have?" Lu Li smiled. "Is there anyone in the world who dares to pretend to be from the Craftsman's sect? Wait here, I'll go report to the Hillman." The sentry pondered about it for a while. Then he cupped his fist to Lu Li and left. From the beginning to the end, his attitude was not respectful at all. Lu Li felt excited. It seemed that the Craftsman's sect and the people of the Green Valley were not on good terms. After an hour, that man finally came out. Not only was Lu Li not angry, he was even more relieved. The people of Green Valley Mountain had left him hanging for an hour, which meant that they did not have a good relationship with Craftsman's sect. Otherwise, why would they dare to leave him hanging for so long? "Sir," the sentry cupped his fists and said, "Our mountain man said that he is refining a strange poison and is at a crucial moment. If you have something important to say, let me pass it on. If not, please come back later." "All right." Lu Li was delighted. Clearly, the relationship between the Green Valley Mountain and the Craftsman sect was not good. That being said, Lu Li didn't want to fall out with the Craftsman sect. He grinned and said, "I am not here on behalf of the Craftsman sect. I am here to ask the mountain man for some medicine. I could pay any price. I just want to see the mountain man. I can give you 10 billion divine sources with both hands." "Oh." The sentinel's expression changed slightly. He nodded, turned around, and went back inside. This time, he came back in time for 2 incense sticks to burn. He made an inviting gesture and said, "Sir, please come with me. Our mountain man has agreed to see you. Luli breathed in relief. If the Green Valley Mountain Man refused to see him, it would be troublesome. He could not force his way in. The poison of the Green Valley Mountain Man could kill supreme warriors in the divinity. Luli followed the sentry. The sentry told Luli to follow him at all times and not to touch anything or he might be poisoned. There are so many poisons, Luli observed along the way. He noticed that there was smoke in the woods and some leaves were clearly poisonous. If he tried to sneak in here, he would not even know how he died. After more than 3 miles, Luli arrived at a house in the center of the valley. There were many people here. They must be from the Green Valley Mountain Man. Those people were cold to Luli. They didn't even give him a second look. They were so arrogant. Finally, Luli entered a large yard and met the Green Valley Mountain Man. He was an old man in a green robe. He was hale and hearty, and his hair was combed neatly. He didn't look like a poison master at all. "Greetings, Mountain Man." Luli saluted with respect. The Green Valley Mountain Man looked at Luli and said with a gloomy face, "You are not from the Craftsman's sect. Who are you? What are you up to by offending a disciple of the Craftsman's sect?" Luli was surprised. The Green Valley Mountain Man could tell that Luli was not from the Craftsman's sect. Could he see through Luli's mask? But judging from the Green Valley Mountain Man's chi and energy, he should only be a super mighty warrior in the divinity. While Luli was hesitating, not knowing what to say, the eyes of the Verdant Valley Hermit glowed. He suddenly sneered and said, "I know. You must be the famous Luli in the divinity. How dare you come to my place? Aren't you afraid that I will kill you and go to the Craftsman's sect for the reward?" Impressive. Even though Luli didn't know how the Green Valley Mountain Man could tell who he was, he admired the Green Valley Mountain Man. At the same time, he was relieved. The Green Valley Mountain Man wouldn't do such a thing if he could say something like this. Luli wiped his face and revealed his real face. He said with a bitter smile, "I was chased by the Craftsman's sect, and I had to be careful. Please forgive me for being rude. I have come here because I am ready to take a gamble. I am betting on your character. If you want to kill me for the reward, then I will have to accept my fate." Ha ha ha. The Green Valley Mountain Man burst into laughter. He stroked his beard and said, "No wonder you can make such a scene. You're something. You don't have to provoke me. I have some fame in the divinity. I cannot do something like this. Tell me, what do you want?" Luli bowed again and said, "Luo Yi went down to capture my people. I had to go down from the void. As a result, I was poisoned by the worms of the void. There are more than 200,000 worms of the void in me now. I have no other way. I heard that you're a resourceful person, so I have come to ask for help. If you can save my life, just tell me your conditions, and I will try my best to fulfill them." Chapter 1590. Worms of the Void. The Verdant Valley Hermit's expressions grew solemn. He shot divine energy at Luli's hand. Luli didn't try to stop it. Just as he said, entering here and having his identity exposed, he was actually gambling with his life. If the Verdant Valley Hermit wanted to kill him, Luli would not be able to stop him. His poison could kill supreme warriors in the divinity. The strand of divine energy disappeared into Luli's hand. Then, it wandered around Luli's body like a snake. After 2 rounds, the divine energy flew out of Luli's hand and returned to the Verdant Valley Mountain Man. "I don't think it is divine energy. Is it some kind of special worm?" Luli raised his eyebrows. If it was divine energy, how could it fly back? The Verdant Valley Hermit pondered and frowned. Luli became nervous because this was a matter of life and death for him. Many warriors were not afraid of death, but nobody wanted to die. Wouldn't it be better to stay alive? If Luli died, Bai Qiushue and the others would die with him. After the time for 2 incense sticks to burn, the Verdant Valley Hermit finally looked up. He shook his head and said, "Luli, go. I will not save you." Luli's expressions changed. Was the Verdant Valley Hermit trying to raise the price, or could he not save Luli? Since the Verdant Valley Hermit said he would not save Luli, not that he couldn't, then there must be a way. Luli cupped his fists and asked, "You won't save me? Hillman, can you tell me the reason?" "I can tell you." The Verdant Valley Hermit came straight to the point. I am 60% sure that I can solve the worms of the void. But there are too many of them. It will take me too much time and energy. Also, to solve all the worms of the void, I will have to use a poison I have in storage. I have spent hundreds of thousands of years, and I only have 10 vats of this poison. If I want to save you, I will need at least 7 or 8 vats. I am not related to you. You are not worthy of my poison. Also, the Verdant Valley Hermit continued after a pause. When the poison enters your body, it will hurt you as well. Your body will become weaker, and you will be more afraid of cold. Unless you can find a sacred medicine. But that kind of sacred medicine should only be available in the Hall of Life and Death. With your relationship with the Craftsman sect, going to the Hall of Life and Death is equivalent to committing suicide. So, Luli understood. The eyes of the Green Valley Mountain people were sincere. It didn't seem like they were trying to raise the price. Luli thought for a while and said with a bitter smile, I will live a little longer if I can. Hillman, name your price and help me destroy the worms of void. Green Valley Mountain Man's expression became a little awkward. His eyes flickered for a moment before he asked, You can actually find another way. Although there is no way to break the void worm, some powerhouses of the major forces should be able to do so. Luli forced a smile and said, Do I have time? You're right. The Green Valley Mountain Man curled his lips. There were more than 200,000 worms of void in Luli's body. At this rate, in less than half a month, there would be millions of worms of void in Luli's body. By then, Luli's body would be gone. Nobody could save him. Green Valley Mountain Man became conflicted once again. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, he let out a long sigh and said, Fine, fine, this old master will also take a gamble. If you die, this old master will consider a loss. I don't want your divine source. I just want you to kill someone for me later. Kill someone? Luli was surprised. No wonder the Green Valley Mountain Man was in a dilemma. He wasn't trying to raise the price. He was just afraid that if Luli died, then he would have saved Luli for nothing and wasted so many poisons. After all, he himself said that he was only 60% sure. If he couldn't save Luli, then he would suffer a great loss. What Luli didn't understand was that the Green Valley Mountain Man could poison supreme warriors in the divinity to death. Why would such a powerful warrior want to kill someone? Luli didn't think for long. He cupped his fists and said, Hillman, who do you want to kill? If I can do it, I will. Don't worry. I am not asking you to kill supreme warriors in the divinity. I don't think you can do that with your current abilities. The Green Valley Mountain Man waved his hand. After a pause, he said, The one I want you to kill is a young master named Zhuoqian. Zhuoqian? Luli repeated. Was this surname Zhua or Zhuoqiao? It was a strange name. Luli asked, Hillman, do you have any information about this man? You don't know him? The Green Valley Mountain Man looked at Luli in surprise. Seeing that Luli really knew nothing, the Green Valley Mountain Man said with a bitter smile, This man ranks number 3 on the list. He is the favorite grandson of Zhuoqiao, the Deputy Master of Space-Time Office. Deputy Master of Space-Time Office. Luli understood. No wonder the Green Valley Mountain Man didn't dare to kill him. He couldn't afford to offend Space-Time Office, but Luli did. Now that Luli had offended a super force, he didn't mind offending another. Luli hesitated for a while. It was not that he was afraid of Space-Time Office. It was just that he didn't want to kill someone for no reason. Luli thought about it and asked, Hillman, can I ask, what is his character like? Character? The Green Valley Mountain Man flew into a rage. He glared at Luli and snorted. One of my grandnieces was defiled and killed by this bastard. If it were not for the fact that his grandpa is Zhuoqiao, I would have killed his entire family. Okay, Luli hated those young masters who used their family background to do evil. He said decisively, Don't worry, Hillman. As long as I can survive, I will find a chance to kill Zhuoqiao. Also, I promise you that I will not tell anyone about this, and I will not implicate you. I have already offended the Craftsman sect. I don't mind another space-time office. Deal. The Green Valley Mountain Man nodded. He stood up and said, I will go and get ready. There is no time to lose. We will start today. But you must be prepared. The worms of the void are hard to crack. It will take a long time, half a year at least, 3 to 5 years at most. It might even take more than 10 years. Okay. Luli nodded and asked, Hillman, you don't need me to take an almighty oath or something like that. Aren't you afraid that I will go back on my word? Ha ha ha. The Green Valley Mountain Man laughed and said, I know something about you. If you were that kind of person, I wouldn't have wasted my time talking to you. I won't force you. If you can survive, just try your best. I won't blame you no matter what you do. Thank you, Hillman. Luli bowed. Even though this Green Valley Mountain Man was the most powerful in poisons, he was not sinister or malicious. Instead, he was open and above board, righteous and heroic, which was admirable. The Green Valley Mountain Man left to get ready. Luli stood in the hall, hesitating whether he should take Chi Shi-er or not. If he didn't, Chi Shi-er would be lonely at the Swords Mountain. She was someone who lacked a sense of security. On the other hand, if Luli had been working on the worms of the void, Chi Shi-er would be more worried. There were poisons everywhere. Luli would not be at ease. Never mind. I will ask the Hillman to send a message. Chapter 1591. In a castle in the Green Valley, inhibition formations were glowing. The Green Valley Hermit had given an order that nobody was allowed to get close, not even his family. The Green Valley Hermit knew very well that once the news that Luli was here got out, the entire Green Valley would be slaughtered by the Craftsman's sect. That was why he didn't want to save Luli. That being said, the fact that the Craftsman's sect could not find Luli after such a long time was proof that Luli was good at hiding. The human skin mask was well made. If it were not for the fact that the Craftsman's sect had some special means, the Green Valley Hermit would not have been able to see through Luli's disguise. There was only one hall in the castle. In the middle of the hall was a vat filled with a green liquid that was bubbling with black smoke. One look, and Luli could tell that the liquid was poisonous. Jump in. The Green Valley Hermit pointed to the vat and said. Luli threw it a few glances and then jumped in. As soon as he was in, he felt his skin was burning. The armor inside him was about to come out to protect him out of instinct. Don't use the armor. You will feel better after a while. The Green Valley Hermit shouted and explained, The worms of the void are strange bugs. They can be tangible and intangible at the same time. Because they live in the void all year round, they are very strong in defense. To kill the worms of the void, regular means are useless. The only way is to attack them slowly with a special poison and eventually kill them all. Open your mouth. Luli put the armor back into his body and opened his mouth. The Green Valley Hermit threw some pellets into Luli's mouth. He explained, Don't worry. As long as I am here, no poison can kill you. You will just suffer a little bit. Also, this is one of the top 10 poisons in the world. It contains strong energy. If you absorb the energy, your divine energy will be enhanced quickly and your soul will be nourished as well. Of course, the Green Valley Hermit sighed and said, Everything has its pros and cons. The poison will corrode your body slowly. You will become weaker and weaker and you will be afraid of cold. If you cannot find a solution in 100 years, you will be so weak that you can't even walk. In 200 years at most, you will die. Luli nodded. He could not say anything even if he wanted to. The poison was invading his body. He felt his entire body was burning and it was extremely painful. He tried his best to sit in the vat with his legs crossed. Only his head was outside. Sweat dripped down from his forehead, but he was calm. You are something. The Green Valley Mountain Man knew very well how powerful his poison was. Luli was so young, and yet he could stand it. Luli was not only did he not make sound, but he was also Green Valley Hermit. It could be seen that Luli had been through pain many times worse than this before. His endurance and willpower were very strong. 2 hours later, the Green Valley Hermit threw something poisonous into the tank. Luli felt his hair stand on end because what he threw in was a type of insect. Fortunately, these insects did not drill into his body, but just wandered inside, making the venom become restless. 2 hours later, Green Valley Mountain Man added some poison. After observing for a moment, he nodded and said, "It's going well for now. The poison has already entered your body and is beginning to invade those void worms. There will be no reaction during this time. Gradually, the worm's chun hermit will slow down. You don't have to worry about anything. If you can cultivate, absorb the energy in the poison and turn it into divine energy and soul, it will be of great help to you. Leave the rest to me." "Thank you, Hermit Godlin Hermit." Luli opened his eyes and said. Then he forced himself to cultivate. At first, he could not, because he would be interrupted by the pain. But after 4 or 5 days, Luli had gotten used to the pain. He had built up a resistance to it, and he could cultivate, albeit with difficulty. There's a lot of energy. Luli cultivated for a while. He used divine energy to absorb the energy in the poison and turn it into a powerful form of energy. Divine energy was used quickly to transform the energy. When Luli was about to absorb the entrancing pellet, the dragon's soul in his soul moved. The dragon's soul glared. All the energy Luli had transformed was absorbed by the dragon's soul. Nothing was left. Luli sensed that his soul was not strengthened at all. He was a bit upset. The dragon's soul was overbearing, and the energy was so powerful that it could enhance his divine energy and soul. Now, it was all devoured by the dragon's soul. He had to continue to consume the energy in the poison. What upset him was that every time he tried to consume some energy, the dragon's soul would devour it, leaving nothing for him. When he was in the Valley of Ghosts, the dragon's soul would help him transform the energy in the soul ripples into divine energy and soul energy. Now it was all devoured. Luli was so upset that he almost gave up on consuming the energy. Let's see how much you can take. There was a lot of energy in the poison, and the Hermit of Green Valley Hermit would keep pouring it in. Luli wanted to see how much the dragon's soul could take. It could not go on forever, could it? 1 day, 10 days, a month. Luli was so upset that he was about to vomit blood. He had been consuming for a month, and all the energy had been devoured by the dragon's soul. Luli had lost all motivation. He felt like he was working for someone else. What cheered Luli up was that he was more resistant to the poison. He didn't feel so much pain anymore. What was more, the frequency of the worms of the void chewing had slowed down. Now it was once every 10 days. Luli could tell that the poison was slowly suppressing the worms of the void. Maybe the worms of the void could be poisoned to death. Whatever. The energy will be wasted if I don't absorb it. I will let the dragon's soul take advantage. Maybe if I absorb more of the dragon's soul, I can become stronger and help me fend off more powerful soul attacks. Luli thought about it and decided that he might as well let it go. While he was refining the energy in the poison, he started to study the killer move Sword Mark. No, it should be the Ghost King cut. He believed that if he continued to study this move, it could be more powerful. On the other hand, Luli had been consuming soul-nurturing pellets. He had reached the level of a super mighty warrior in every aspect except for his soul. As long as his soul could be improved, his chi and energy would be enhanced, and his abilities would be enhanced as well. He would become a real super mighty warrior in the divinity. This punk is a promising young man. The Hermit of Green Valley Hermit nodded, seeing that Luli had been cultivating in peace. At such a young age, Luli could defeat the super mighty warriors in the divinity. If he could survive, he would become a supreme warrior in the divinity. Alas, but the Hermit of Green Valley Hermit could not help but sigh, considering that Luli's enemy was the Craftsman's sect and that he would have to deal with the space-time office in the future. Chapter 1592. After Luli attacked 2 branches of the Craftsman's sect, he went missing again. He did not show up for months. Craftsman's sect's Master of Sacrifice, Patriarch Chi, and Patriarch Bao mobilized many people, but to no avail. The divinity, which had been bustling with noise, quieted down again. They had thought that Luli would keep attacking. Many people were eager to see a good show. However, Luli suddenly became silent, which made many people depressed. They had a feeling that he was not going to be able to sleep on his wedding night. That being said, many people could understand. After all, Lu Li's abilities were limited and he was so young. It was already commendable that he could achieve what he had. How could they expect him to wipe out the craftsman's sect? Emperor of Heaven Reverse accepted Lu Li's message from the Green Valley Hermit. Lu Li only told the messenger to say one thing. He was following the original plan, and please cooperate. Emperor of Heaven Reverse was smart enough to know that it was Lu Li who sent the message. The message was clear. Lu Li had gone to the Green Valley Hermit and asked Emperor of Heaven Reverse to take good care of Qi Shi'er. Qi Shi'er was not in a good state. She lacked a sense of security. She knew very well that Lu Li must have left her for something dangerous, or else he would have taken her with him. Therefore, she was not in the mood to cultivate recently. She was anxious. At this rate, her mental state would deteriorate. Emperor of Heaven Reverse sent some young ladies of the immediate family to keep Qi Shi'er company. Unfortunately, Qi Shi'er could not get over the knot in her heart. Everything she did was tasteless. Lu Li sent a message to Emperor of Heaven Reverse, who went to find Qi Shi'er at once and told her what Lu Li said. Emperor of Heaven Reverse tactfully said that Lu Li was safe and would come back after a while. He asked Qi Shi'er to focus on her cultivation. Qi Shi'er trusted Emperor of Heaven Reverse. Emperor of Heaven Reverse looked like a kind old man, and he was very trustworthy. She went back to her room quietly and began to cultivate. But if Lu Li didn't come back, she would get restless again after a while. How could Lu Li come back so soon? The Green Valley Hermit said that it would take a long time to poison the worms of the void. Those worms lived in the void all year round. To be able to survive in such a harsh environment, they must be strong. Half a year passed by in the blink of an eye. Lu Li woke up from cultivation, not because he was tired. Instead, it was because the dragon soul had finally stopped absorbing energy and began to transmit energy to him, allowing him to improve his soul and divine power. The number of worms of the void had reached more than 1 million, but it had been over a month since they were fed. This gave Lu Li hope. The worms of the void were clearly poisoned. They would all die after a while. As long as the worms of the void were cured, Lu Li could not worry about the side effects of the poison for now. It didn't matter if his body was weak and he was afraid of the cold. As long as his battle prowess wasn't affected for a short period of time, as long as he was alive, there was hope. Only the hall had the elixir. Lu Li did not believe that the vast divinity realm did not have it. Moreover, if the divinity realm did not have it, did it mean that the land of Yuyan did not have it? At worst, he could just ask the Hall of Bloodblade to purchase it from the Hall of Life and Death, or ask other factions to purchase it. There was always a glimmer of hope. Lu Li was exhilarated by the rapid improvement of his divine energy and soul. Li's spiritual Li's and spiritual energy was increase. The divine Li's cultivation. The god's divine energy was not as well. If Lu Li could cultivate with the elixir, how fast would he improve? Of course, Lu Li could only dream about it. First of all, the elixir had a strong side effect. Secondly, the Green Valley Hermit had spent hundreds of thousands of years on the elixir. Lu Li had to use more than half of the time. The elixir was precious. The Green Valley Hermit did not keep an eye on Lu Li during this time. He would come in every 10 days to inject some elixir. If there were no accidents, the void worm should be poisoned to death in another half a year. Lu Li was glad. After all, he had saved Lu Li and he had a chance to kill Zhuo Qiuyan. He thought he could never kill Zhuo Qiuyan, or else the space-time office would raze the Green Valley to the ground. As a matter of fact, he could send someone to assassinate Zhuo Qiuyan, but he did not dare to take the risk. If he was found out, his entire family would perish. Therefore, Lu Li was the best choice. Judging by Lu Li's past behavior, he would never expose himself. Space-Time Office would not associate Lu Li with Zhuo Qiuyan's murder. After all, Lu Li had a notorious reputation in the divinity. He was a lunatic. Nobody would be surprised if he killed anyone. Okay, my soul is as strong as a super mighty warrior in the divinity. Lu Li suddenly opened his eyes after sitting in the vat for 11 months. He felt he had been sublimated and his qi and energy were stronger. During this time, the dragon soul no longer devoured energy. Instead, it transformed the energy and his soul absorbed much of it. His soul was growing fast. Luli had been consuming top-level soul pellets, which helped to speed up the breakthrough. Divine energy and soul were easy to reach for super mighty warriors in the divinity. The key was fundamental principles and killer moves. If it were not for the cut of Ghost King, Luli would not have made the breakthrough. The move that made Ghost King famous was the combination of several powerful fundamental principles. Luli spent more than 700,000 years in a space-time black hole to learn it. If it were not for the fact that he was in a space-time black hole, Luli would have to spend many years to learn it. Good. The worms of the void ate 3 more times, but they didn't split up. Luli was relieved. The worms of the void were suppressed by the elixir. They would all die in a while. Keep cultivating. The energy in the elixir could not be wasted. It would be difficult for super mighty warriors in the divinity to reach the supremacy stage. Without the support of super forces and rare encounters, Luli would not be able to reach the divine energy and soul realm without hundreds or thousands of years of cultivation, let alone fundamental principles. 3 months passed, and the worms didn't eat again. Luli checked with psychic power. He seemed to be in a bad condition and could die at any moment. What? Luli used psychic power to check again. When he was about to resume cultivation, he suddenly noticed that the worms in his body were becoming active and they were swarming toward his head. Oh no! Luli was taken aback. If the worms were to reach his head would be gone after 1 bite. He instinctively wanted to shout for the Green Valley Mountain Men to come over, but then he remembered that the people outside were all Green Valley Mountain Men. If he shouted and his identity was exposed, it would bring disaster to the Green Valley Mountain Men. The worms must know that they are about to die. That is why they want to kill me to save themselves. Luli thought quickly. At this moment of life and death, his mind became clearer. In an instant, he had an idea. He sent a message to Blood Fairy. Blood Fairy, invade my soul and attack it. Let the dragon's soul protect you. Luli realized that the only way for him to survive was the dragon's soul. If the dragon's soul could not control the worms, this day next year would be the anniversary of his death. Chapter 1593. Luli had tried to summon the dragon soul before, but he could not command it. The dragon soul would only protect its master when his soul was under attack. Therefore, Luli came up with an idea. He asked Blood Fairy to attack his soul. Whoosh! Blood Fairy came out from the interspatial ring at once. She went into Luli's mind and began to attack his soul. Buzzing, the silver dragon mark outside, Luli's soul came out at once. It glowed in a silver light and wandered around his soul. Blood Fairy retreated quickly. She knew very well how strong the dragon's soul was. If Luli was attacked, Blood Fairy would be devoured by the dragon's soul. The dragon's soul was moving around in Luli's soul. At the same time, hundreds of thousands of worms of the void had entered Luli's head. How big could Luli's head be? How could it contain so many worms of the void? Naturally, the worms of the void would swarm toward his soul. Roar! Luli seemed to hear a soundless roar. Then, the dragon's soul glowed even brighter and whooshed toward the worms of the void. Luli was extremely nervous. If the dragon's soul could not contain the worms, he would die for sure. Buzzing, the dragon's soul glowed in a silver light and wandered around in Luli's mind. What confused Luli was, the dragon's soul did not devour the worms. Instead, it whooshed past them. Oh no! Luli shouted to himself. Were the worms tangible and the dragon's soul could not devour them? Since the dragon's soul was intangible, it seemed that it could only devour intangible objects. Those worms could materialize, which was why they were so hard to kill. Wait, Luli's heart skipped a beat. He noticed a problem. There were too many worms in his mind. If those worms could materialize, wouldn't his mind explode? Well, the worms are not moving. Soon, Luli noticed another problem. Wherever the dragon's soul went, the worms stopped moving and stayed where they were. Are they contained? Luli was overjoyed, but he was not completely relieved. He observed nervously. The dragon soul spun around in his mind, and all the worms that entered his mind stopped moving. There There were more worms swarming into Lu Li's mind. Luckily, they were intangible, or else Lu Li's head would explode. The dragon's soul continued to wander. After the dragon's soul wandered past, the insects that came in behind all obediently stayed still, not daring to move. After the time for one incense stick to burn, all the worms had entered Lu Li's mind. They seemed to be suppressed by the dragon's soul. Lu Li used psychic power to check, making sure that there were no insects in his body. He became even more nervous. How long could the dragon's soul suppress it? If so many bugs moved, his head would be eaten in an instant. When that happened, he would become a headless corpse just like the divine corpse. Damn. Lu Li noticed that the dragon's soul had stopped moving. It had returned to his body and then quieted down. Lu Li was so scared that his soul almost left his body. The dragon's soul was silent. What if the insect was not suppressed? Wouldn't his head be gone in an instant? No movement. Soon, Lu Li was overjoyed. The worms didn't move, and nothing happened after the time for half an incense stick to burn. Lu Li waited for a moment. All of a sudden, a spiritual connection appeared in his mind. He found it strange. This is the void worm. Lu Li was baffled to find that he had a spiritual connection with a worm of the void. How could he have a spiritual connection with a worm? How could he have a spiritual connection with the worm? He didn't refine this worm, did he? Is it the dragon's soul? Lu Li had an idea. Apart from this, there was no other explanation. If the dragon's soul could suppress the worms of the void, then theoretically, it should be possible to consume the worms of the void. The dragon's soul had a spiritual connection with Lu Li. If the dragon's soul consumed the worms of the void, then he would have done the same. But why was there only one bug that had a spiritual connection? Could it be that this worm was the mother? The rest of the worms were split from this worm? Lu Li had an idea. He controlled the worm to fly into his body. The worm snuck into his abdomen. As soon as it moved, all the other worms moved. It really is the mother. Lu Li's heart skipped a beat. He was delighted. This was the mother. It had divided into 2 offspring, and then 4, and then 8. That was to say, all the worms of the void were born from the mother, and all the worms were under its command. Come out. Lu Li ordered the mother. That worm flew out from Lu Li's body at once. Then all the worms came out and flew into the sky. Okay. Lu Li flew out from the water tank. He looked at the half-transparent worms in the sky with delight. Those worms had become tangible. They were only the size of a grain of rice, like ants. There was nothing special about them. Phew, phew, Lu Li breathed heavily. Finally, he was out from the gate of death. The worms of the void that had troubled him for so long were solved. Dragon soul, why didn't you consume the worms of the void earlier? Lu Li was frustrated. If the dragon's soul could consume the worms of the void, then he wouldn't have to come to the Green Valley. He wouldn't have to endure such pain and suffer from sequelae. However, it seemed that the dragon's soul could not consume the worms of the void. Could only consume? Had the dragon's soul evolved? Had it evolved after consuming the energy from the poison for half a year? How could the worms of the void be consumed? Lu Li did not know. What was done was done. He had to put aside his worries. Buzzing, the inhibition formation on the gate suddenly glowed. Clearly, the Green Valley Hermit was coming in. Lu Li took out the wicked bead at once and put away all the worms of the void. When Lu Li put away the worms of the void, the gate was opened and the Green Valley Hermit walked in. Seeing Lu Li outside the water tank, the Green Valley Hermit asked in surprise, "Lu Li, how come you are out? Is something wrong?" Lu Li thought for a while. Cupping his fists, he said, "Thank you, Hermit. All the worms of the void are gone." "They're gone?" The Green Valley Hermit was surprised. According to his estimation, it would take at least a month or 2 for the worms of the void to die. Also, the worms of the void would not all die at once. They would die in batches. How could they all die at once? The Green Valley Hermit looked at Lu Li with suspicion. Instead of using psychic power to check, he asked, "Are you sure?" "Yes." Lu Li nodded. He did not explain because it involved the secrets of the dragon's soul. Besides, he had tamed the worms of the void. This was one of his secret weapons, and he did not want to expose it. That's good. The Green Valley hermit smiled, but did not ask further. He nodded and said, "Then you can rest in the valley for half a month. You will be fine for now, but you will get weaker over time. You will be more sensitive to the cold. From now on, you'll have to walk your own path. I cannot help you. You've helped me a lot. You saved my life." Chapter 1594. Luli stayed in the Green Valley for half a month. Hermit of the Green Valley nurtured his body with many elixirs. But Luli didn't feel he was getting stronger. Instead, he felt weaker. What the Hermit of the Green Valley mentioned happened. Luli felt weak, and he was afraid of the cold. It was the hottest day in the summer, but somehow Luli felt cold. His complexion had also become slightly pale, losing a lot of color. He looked like a scholar who had just recovered from a serious illness. That being said, Luli's physical strength was still there. This did not affect his abilities. He put on a thick robe and disguised himself as a bearded man. Then, he left the Green Valley. He teleported to the Swords Mountain after he left the Green Valley. He was worried about Chi Shi'er. Along the way, he noticed that there were scouts from many cities, not only from the Craftsman sect but also from other forces. But how could those low-level scouts see through him? He teleported all the way, and the teleportation route was constantly changing. He would rather teleport a few more times, and he even changed his appearance a few times. This way, it would be safer. At the Rising Sun Prefecture, Luli didn't teleport again. He sneaked up to the Swords Mountain. The moment he entered the castle, Chi Shi'er, who was notified, ran to him in tears. "Luli, take a rest." Emperor of Heaven Reverse smiled and left. Since Luli could come back, it meant that he had solved the worms of the void. They could talk about other things later. Luli comforted Chi Shi'er for an hour before she calmed down. He promised that he would take her with him for the rest of the mission. Only then did she put on a sweet smile. "Brother, why are you wearing so much? Don't you feel hot?" Chi Shi'er was confused to see that Luli was wearing a thick robe and didn't look well. Even regular immortals wouldn't be afraid of the cold, let alone Luli. It seemed that Luli was afraid of the cold. "I am okay." Luli smiled lightly and said, "I was poisoned and I went to detoxify it a while ago. Now it is gone, but there are some side effects. I am afraid of the cold, and I am weak. I will be fine after some rest." Oh, Chi Shi'er was alone, so she didn't overthink. She knew that Luli would not come back to see her without the antidote. "Take a seat first. I'll have a chat with the Great Emperor." Luli kissed Chi Shi'er on her red lips and walked out. He chatted with Emperor of Heaven Reverse and told him that the Green Valley Mountain Man had helped him, but there were some side effects. He was afraid of the cold and weak. The worms of the void were the most horrifying. As for the side effects, Emperor of Heaven Reverse did not worry too much. After all, there were too many treasures in the world. Luli had reached the level of a super mighty warrior in the divinity. How strong was his body? Therefore, Emperor of Heaven Reverse did not mind. Luli stayed at the Swords Mountain for a couple of days. He contacted the Earth Imperial Universe through Emperor of Heaven Reverse to reassure Patriarch of Law Enforcement, Jiang Qiling, and Bai Qiushue. Moreover, he vaguely told the Enforcement Elder and the others that he had already broken the Void Worm. Lu Renhuang was not here. He had led the army to attack the 8 universes. He had successfully conquered 6 universes. Unifying all the other universes was not a problem. And at most a year, the mortal world below would belong to the Lu clan. Luli told them not to worry and that he would contact them every once in a while. Jiang Qiling, Bai Qiushue, and Bai Xiaoshuang were relieved to hear this. With all this done, Luli left with Chi Shi'er. He could not stay at the Swords Mountain all the time. If his identity was exposed, the Sword sect would face a devastating disaster. He took Chi Shi'er to the Wei Di Mountain to take Little White away. Luli could not rest easy with Little White here. If Little White was captured or killed, he would feel guilty for the rest of his life. They entered the Wei Di Mountain. Luli used psychic power to check the mountain. Soon, he was surprised because he did not see Little White in the mountain. There was a hole in the mountain. Little White had eaten half of the mountain, but there was no sign of Little White. "What is it, brother?" Seeing the shock in Lu Li's eyes, Qi Shi'er asked with concern. Little White is gone, Lu Li said in a hurry. He carried Qi Shi'er with one hand and ran up the mountain. He used psychic power to check, but could not find Little White. The inhibition formations are not touched. Did Little White go out to play by itself? Lu Li noticed that the inhibition formations he built were still there. The formations of illusion in the cave were not cracked, and the one-way teleportation formation was still there. Let's go. He wandered around with Qi Shi'er, looking for Little White. He even let Blood Fairy out. However, after half a month and almost turning the way D Mountain upside down, Little White was nowhere to be found. Where did he go? Was he taken away? Or did he run away on his own? Lu Li was burning with anxiety. Little White was too weak. Even if it had grown stronger after eating the red and green stones, it could only be a prefecture warrior at best. Warriors of this level were plentiful in the divinity. Whoosh, Lu Li left the mountain decisively and went to the Hall of Bloodblade in the Rising Sun City. He met someone that surprised him, Patriarch Jian Shilai. Young Master Lu, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Jian Shilai forced a smile and cupped his fists. Where have you been? Not even a Hall of Bloodblade can find you. Something has happened. I have to find a place to cultivate. Lu Li gave a random explanation and asked, Patriarch Jian Shilai, what can I do for you? Chief Hall Master asked me to send you a message. Jian Shilai told Lu Li what Pan Raindrop told him. He told Lu Li to attack no more than 30 branches of the Craftsman's sect. Otherwise, nobody could save Lu Li if the Craftsman's sect used their hidden forces. Lu Li was confused. He asked with a frown, hidden forces? What hidden forces does the Craftsman's sect have that can kill me instantly? If they have this ability, why don't they use it now? I don't know the details. Jian Shilai shook his head. I only know one thing. The Slayer, one of the top 10 on the divinity, did not die in a dangerous place. He was secretly killed by the Space-Time Office. Well, this was the first time Lu Li had heard of this. He frowned. His already sick face became even paler. He nodded slightly, but said nothing. Instead, he brought up another matter. Thank you, Patriarch Jian Shilai. I want to ask you to do 2 things for me. I will make sure the Hall of Bloodblade will be satisfied with the reward. Let's not talk about the reward first. Patriarch Jian Shilai waved his hand and said, let's talk about the matter first. I will try my best if I can do it. First of all, I have lost a pet. This pet is very important to me. Lu Li took out a portrait of Little White. He explained and asked the Hall of Bloodblade to look for it nearby. This was a trivial matter for the Hall of Bloodblade, but they could not guarantee that they could find Jian Shilai. They could only try their best. Lu Li took out another map and handed it to Jian Shilai. This is a kind of sacred medicine called Dragon's Tongue Leaf. This is the map. Chapter 1595. The land of Yuyin doesn't have it. Lu Li raised his eyebrows and asked, wasn't there a lot of elixirs in the land of Yuyin? No, Jian Shilai said while shaking his head. There's only one mountain in the whole of the divinity that can produce such a sacred medicine, and only 100 of them will mature every 100 years. This mountain has been occupied by the Hall of Life and Death, and it is guarded by the supreme swordsman of the divinity all the time. It is basically impossible to attack the mountain and snatch the herb. Furthermore, I heard that the method to harvest the saint herb is very complicated. Even if you attack the mountain, you will not be able to harvest the saint herb. Lu Li thought about it and asked, can I buy it? Find someone to buy it from the Hall of Life and Death for a high price. Impossible, Jian Shilai said while shaking his head. This sacred medicine is almost never sold to the outside world. Even if it is sold, it will be sold to the other 3 supreme sects or to some major sects that the Life and Death Hall is familiar with. The smaller sects won't sell it to them. Even the 72 divine sects won't give them face. Let's talk about this later. Lu Li felt a headache coming on. In a short term, his body should be fine apart from being afraid of the cold. The Green Valley Mountain Man had said that it would take 100 years for him to become so weak that he could no longer walk. He still had time to think of a way in the future. Lu Li thought about it and asked the third question, Patriarch Shalai, can you help me find out Zhuo Qiuyan's whereabouts? You don't have to be specific. Just tell me where he is or where he is going. Zhuo Qiuyan? Jian Shilai asked with a gleam in his eyes. The grandson of Zhuo Qiurong. Having received Lu Li's confirmation, Jian Shilai's expression grew grave. Young Master Lu, do you want to kill Zhuo Qiuyan? You can't do that. You've already offended the craftsman's sect. If you offend the space-time mansion as well, then... Lu Li smiled lightly and said, what is it? Wasn't it just being hunted down? Is there a difference between one supreme god organization and two supreme god organizations? Sigh. Seeing that Lu Li was determined, Jian Shilai did not try to persuade him otherwise. All he could say was, the matter is too dangerous. The Hall of Bloody Blade can only help you in a simple way, like locating a certain prefecture where Zhuo Qiuyan is. It's impossible for us to investigate and track down Zhuo Qiuyan. Otherwise, once the space-time mansion finds out, our Bloodblade Hall will be in great trouble. That's exactly what I mean. Lu Li nodded slightly, stood up, and said, I will go to the Earth Emanation City first. When I get there, I might hide in a small city nearby. If you have any news, send someone to the nearby towns to take a look. I'll keep an eye out. Earth Emanation City. Jian Shilai lifted his head and asked, are you going to destroy the evil Earth Palace first? They only want to kill their young palace master, Zhou Qianjun. Lu Li smiled and explained, Zhou Qianjun and my master, Patriarch Gu, once had a blood feud. I never did anything to him because I didn't want to become enemies with the Space-Time Office. Zhou Qianjun's great-grandfather is an elder of the Space-Time Mansion. Now that I'm prepared to fall out with the Space-Time Mansion, I naturally have to avenge my master first. All right. With a bitter smile, Jian Shilai felt sentimental as he looked at the pale-faced young man in front of him who looked like a feeble scholar. He knew it wouldn't be long before Lu Li took the divinity by storm again. However, Lu Li would also face a more serious situation. How far could Lu Li go? Jian Shilai was not sure how long he could live. However, some people could be as brilliant as a shooting star even though their lives were short. This kind of life was enough. It was like the Slayer in Lu Li at the moment. Lu Li left. Jian Shilai couldn't take care of Little White anymore. It was better for him to look for Little White alone than for the tens of thousands of people in the Hall of Bloodblade. He had something more important to do. He would try his best to fulfill his promises. The Mountain Man of Green Valley saved his life, so he must fulfill his promise. He went to the Earth Evil Palace and lived in a small town nearby. He had successfully found out that Zhou Qianjun, the young palace master of the Evil Earth Palace, had been living in a big city recently and indulging in debauchery all day long. He didn't take action right away. He needed to wait for Jian Shilai's information. It was easy to kill Zhou Qianjun, but killing Zhou Qianjun would alert the Space-Time Mansion. He must find Zhuo Qiuyan as soon as possible and end his life. He stayed in a tavern with Qi Shi'er. She didn't feel uneasy at all. As long as she could stay with Lu Li, she would feel at ease. Even if she had to change to a different tavern every day, even if she had to travel around the world as her home. During this time, Qi Shi'er was very clingy. She asked for sex almost every night. Lu Li knew that Qi Shi'er was not a person with strong desires. Clearly, she wanted a child. With a child, Lu Li would seek stability. He would take her to a place to cultivate and live in seclusion so that she could stay with Lu Li. Lu Li could never say no to Qi Shi'er's requests. They cultivated together during the day and spent every night together. Qi Shi'er was shy and couldn't let go of herself in bed. But after a while, she was taught to do it. She began to try many embarrassing positions, which made Lu Li happy. On the 12th day of his stay in the small town, Lu Li used psychic power to check the city every now and then. He found some marks left by the Hall of Bloodblade. He went over and got accurate information. Zhuo Qiuyan might go to the City of Light in 10 days for the wedding of the young master of the City of Light. The City of Light was a branch of the Space-Time Mansion. As the most powerful warrior of the young generation of the Space-Time Mansion, Zhuo Qiuyan might attend the wedding. Lu Li checked the information after he came back. The City of Light was not far away. It would only take 1 or 2 days to teleport continuously. Okay. Lu Li put Qi Shi into the wicked bead and then went to a nearby city. He used psychic power to locate Chou Qianjun in a luxurious mansion. But he didn't do anything. If he did, what if Zhuo Chuyan didn't come out? Should he go to the space-time city? Time moved on. Fortunately, Chou Qianjun had been staying here and didn't go back to the Earth Evil City. He must have hooked up with a pretty lady here and was having too much fun to think of home. It was the 8th day. Theoretically speaking, Zhuo Chuyan should have gone to the City of Light, and Lu Li should be ready. He put away Qi Shi and strode toward a manor in the northwest. He concealed his energy. At the gate of the manor, some guards stopped him. Lu Li had already checked the city. There were only 2 super mighty warriors in the divinity. One was with Chou Qianjun, and the other was the city master. This is a private manor. Sir, please wait. Lu Li walked over. The dozen guards at the gate stopped him nervously. A mighty warrior from the divinity said politely, buzzing. What answered him was a saber glowing in a black light. Lu Li dodged and flew past more than a dozen people. More than a dozen heads flew up. That mighty warrior from the divinity was shocked. Lu Li had concealed his energy and seemed to be about the same level as him. How could Lu Li kill him in one move? Incoming. From a manor came a shout. Then, many warriors flew up. Chou Qianjun came out from a castle with a pretty girl in disheveled clothes in his arms. Lu Li strode over and made eye contact with Chou Qianjun. Lu Li scratched his face and showed his real face. He said with a smile, "Young Master Chou, do you still remember me after we parted ways at the craftsman's city?" Lu Li, Chou Qianjun yelled in surprise. The hundreds of warriors in the yard and that super mighty warrior from the divinity turned pale. Chapter 1596. Chou Qianjun had a deep impression of Lu Li, not because Lu Li was Patriarch Gu's apprentice or because he met Lu Li years ago. Over the years, Chou Qianjun had been worried that Lu Li would come and kill him. The Palace of Evil Spirit had restricted him from going out. Based on this concern, Chou Qianjun would dream about Lu Li coming to kill him several years ago. Therefore, Chou Qianjun paid special attention to Lu Li and had collected a lot of information about him. Chou Qianjun and the Palace of Evil Spirit had let down their guard since Lu Li never came. That being said, Chou Qianjun was still worried about Lu Li. Today, his worry had come true. Finally, Lu Li had come to avenge Patriarch Gu. Calm down, calm down. Chou Qianjun told himself that he must calm down or he would become a dead body the next moment. There was no need to doubt Lu Li's determination and courage. Even though his great-grandpa was a patriarch of the space-time office, Lu Li had the guts to kill a vice-patriarch of the Hall of Combat of the Craftsman's sect. Why would Lu Li care about a young master of the Palace of Evil Spirit? Chou Qianjun stopped those around him from acting recklessly. Taking a deep breath, he said, "Lu Li, can we talk?" Seeing that nobody moved, Lu Li shrugged and said, "Really? What do you want to talk about?" Phew. Seeing that Lu Li was calm, Chou Qianjun felt a glimmer of hope. He told himself to calm down and not to do anything rash. Raising his hand, Chou Qianjun said, "Go down and stand still. I want to talk to young Master Lu." The others didn't dare to act rashly. They all went down. Chou Qianjun went down as well. The girl in his arms looked at Lu Li in horror. This was the famous god of slaughter. How many people had he killed? If the situation wasn't good today, wouldn't the entire city be massacred by him? She would die and her family would be wiped out. Chou Qianjun forced a smile after he came down. Cupping his fists, he said, "Young Master Lu, I only want to live. Can you spare my life? Anything is negotiable." Lu Li had been checking with psychic power, making sure that nobody was coming and that nobody inside was doing anything. Lu Li said with a smile, "Anything is negotiable? Then I will tell you what I want." Chou Qianjun clenched his teeth and cupped his fists. 3 conditions. Lu Li thought about it and said, "First, you kneel and kowtow to me 10 times. Second, give me 100 billion divine sources. Third, give me the girl next to you." How is it? It's not too much, right? Before Cho Qianjun could react, the face of the woman beside him turned pale. She grabbed Cho Qianjun nervously and said, "Qianjun, no, you can't give me to him, no smack." Cho Qianjun slapped him and shouted angrily, "Shut up." The woman was slapped to the ground. She didn't dare to say anything and could only sob softly. Cho Qianjun's eyes flickered as he remained silent. After 5 minutes, he raised his head and said, "The first and third conditions are not a problem. As for the second condition, I'm afraid the Earth Emanations Palace is unable to produce 100 billion divine roots." Huh? That young lady trembled. She looked at Cho Qianjun in disbelief. He said that he loved her and would marry her. But now he was going to give her to Lu Li. That was Lu Li, the god of slaughter. For average girls, Lu Li was more like a devil, a demon. The thought of being tortured by Lu Li day and night made the pretty young lady tremble in fear. Lu Li threw the young lady a glance. He put on a sarcastic smile. Looking up at Cho Qianjun, he said, "How about you kowtow to me first? 1,000. If I am in a good mood, maybe I will give you less." Kowtow. Cho Qianjun was filled with grief and indignation. Never in his life had he been humiliated like this. If it were someone else, he would have started a fight right away. But Lu Li was like a mountain that Cho Qianjun could only look up to. He could not even think of fighting back. Lu Li had killed super mighty warriors in the divinity as if they were pigs and dogs. They could not hurt Lu Li even if they tried to fight back. "Okay, I will." Cho Qianjun made up his mind and shouted. He told himself that a man should know when to yield and when to stand tall. As long as he was alive, he would have a chance to get back at Lu Li. He swore to himself that he would make him pay for today's humiliation 100 times over. Plop. He dropped to his knees and kowtowed to Lu Li again and again. His head banged so hard that the bluestone slabs were cracked. His face was emotionless, but in his eyes there was humiliation that he could not hide. The servant had to die when the master was humiliated. There were hundreds of warriors and a super mighty warrior in the divinity. They were all from the palace of evil spirit. Their eyes were spitting fire to see their young master being humiliated. They were supposed to die first when their master was humiliated. However, under such circumstances, if they dared to fight back or even say a word, Cho Qianjun would be killed right away. Bang, bang, bang. Cho Qianjun kept kowtowing. There was a dent on his forehead. Lu Li stood there emotionless. In his mind, he did see Patriarch Gu's stern face. "Master, can you see that?" Lu Li looked up into the sky, hoping that Patriarch Gu could see it from heaven. As a matter of fact, Lu Li wanted to take Cho Qianjun away, bring him to the Valley of Relics, and make him kowtow to Patriarch Gu's grave. However, in that case, Jiang Rudin might die. Therefore, Lu Li had to make Cho Qianjun kowtow here. Lu Li did not want Cho Qianjun to kowtow to him, but to Patriarch Gu and the others. Soon, 1,000 kowtows were done. Cho Qianjun's forehead and hair were covered with mud. He was a dignified man, but now he was in a sorry state. Looking up at Lu Li, Cho Qianjun said, "Young Master Lu, are you happy now? Can you give me less divine sources?" "Sure." Lu Li nodded and said, 100 million less. Give me 9 billion divine sources from the palace of evil spirit, and I will spare your life. 9 billion divine sources? The warriors were stunned. Then their expressions changed. Their eyes were spitting fire. 1,000 kowtows and only 100 million divine sources? Lu Li was clearly messing with them. Unless Jiang Yi sold off the Earth Emanations Palace, how could he possibly get 9 billion divine roots? Lu Li was messing with them and humiliating Cho Qianjun. He had no intention of letting Cho Qianjun go. An idea came to Cho Qianjun's mind. Then he flew into a rage. Killing intent surged out from him. A saber appeared in Cho Qianjun's hand as he shouted, "Lu Li, you have gone too far. Do it. Bite off a piece of his flesh, even if you have to die." Buzzing, Lu Li acted earlier than them. He waved his hand, and an invisible force of space pressed down. Everyone in the yard could not move. Bite off a piece of flesh? Do you think you're qualified? Luli grinned coldly. Then he took out the wicked bead. Many semi-transparent worms flew out and entered Cho Qianjuan's body. Looking up to the sky, Luli said, "Master, I have avenged you. Worms of the void, do it." Luli ordered. The worms of the void in Cho Qianjuan's body began to move. Chapter 1597. One breath ago, he was alive and well, a respected young master. In a blink of an eye, he had turned into a skeleton. Luli didn't seem to have done anything. Everyone was scared silly, and there was complete silence. Everyone thought they were hallucinating. It was not until the pretty lady let out a scream that woke them up. Whoosh, Luli waved his hand. The worms of the void dashed toward that divinity, super mighty warrior. This time, Luli did not do it himself. He wanted to test the abilities of the worms of the void. The worms of the void were intangible and were not affected by the force of space. They flew over quickly and reached the divinity, super mighty warrior. Those worms, the divinity, super mighty warrior, was terrified. He just realized that Cho Qianjun had died to those worms. He tried to move, but Luli waved his sleeve. Even more horrifying force of space came down. The super mighty warrior could not move at all. The worms of the void were intangible. Even though the divinity, super mighty warrior, was protected by a supreme relic armor, the worms of the void could pierce through the armor as easily as they did to Cho Qianjuan's body. What happened next was simple. The worms of the void gnawed at the man. First, the man's head was eaten. Then, the man's body disappeared, leaving only bones. They are splitting? Seeing that the worms of the void had stopped moving and were splitting up, Luli put away all the worms of the void with a glow. The worms of the void were small in size. If the energy was too strong, the worms of the void would split up. The bodies of the super mighty warriors in the divinity contained powerful energy. Therefore, the worms of the void could split up directly. After all the worms of the void were taken away, Luli used psychic power to check and exclaimed. The worms of the void were about to die from the poison. However, after the dragon's soul dissolved them, they recovered quickly. The poison was neutralized by the worms of the void. Luli could not help but admire the worms of the void. Go to hell. Luli took out the demon slayer and began to kill. Hundreds were killed easily. Luli did not spare the girl, either. It was not that Luli was bloodthirsty. It was just that the girl saw the worms of the void. Since she was Cho Qianjuan's girl, it was not an injustice. Whoosh, 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 the situation finally attracted the attention of other places in the city. Many powerful warriors were rushing over. A divinity, super mighty warrior shouted from the distance, "Young master!" That super mighty warrior from the divinity was the city master. Soon, he saw Luli with psychic power. However, he trembled and stopped on the spot. He shouted, "Don't go over there. He is Luli." Luli? The soldiers and experts who were rushing towards the manor instantly froze on the spot. Luli, the god of slaughter, was too famous. He had slaughtered many cities. If Luli were to make a move, this city would become a dead city after today. Luli had no intention of slaughtering the city, and those warriors were not from the evil spirit palace. Jiang Yi flew up into the air and retrieved a war chariot. He stood on the war chariot as he looked down at the people below and said, "I only have a personal grudge with Cho Qianjun. I have nothing to do with you guys, and I am not targeting the space-time manor or the Earth Emanations Palace. If they will not, they, and they will, they, and they will, if they, and they will, and if they. Whoosh, Luli flew away in the chariot. There were at least hundreds of thousands of warriors in the city. However, none dared to stop him, let alone go after him. Civilians in the city were terrified as well. They were relieved when they were sure that Luli was gone. Some even peed in their pants. Luli was so famous as the god of slaughter that he could kill a city at the drop of a hat. Quick, report to the Palace of Evil Spirit and the Space-Time Office. The city master yelled. He waved his hand and said, all super mighty warriors in the divinity. Come with me. We cannot let Lu Li escape, even if we cannot kill him. The city master went after Lu Li with a group of super mighty warriors in the divinity. But they were not fast. Clearly, the city master was afraid that the palace of evil spirit would hold him accountable. He was just putting on a show. He wouldn't dare to go after Lu Li even if he had 100 times the courage. Otherwise, why didn't he move just now? Soon, Lu Li vanished without a trace. The city master came back after a couple of hours. When he came back to the city, he saw the master of the palace of evil spirit and a patriarch of the space-time office, Cho Qianjuan's great-grandpa. The news spread quickly. Lu Li reappeared after a period of silence. Instead of killing the branch forces of the craftsman's sect, he killed the young master of the palace of evil spirit. If Lu Li were just an average young master, it would not cause such a stir. The problem was that Cho Qianjun was the young master of the palace of evil spirit, one of the 72 sections. The palace of evil spirit was a branch force of the space-time office. Cho Qianjuan's great-grandpa was a patriarch of the space-time office. Was Lu Li declaring war on the space-time office? Naturally, such a piece of shocking news spread fast. In just one day, it had reached many cities nearby and then snowballed to all sides. The space-time office did not give any response. However, Cho Qianjuan's great-grandpa said that Lu Li must be killed. At the same time, the palace of evil spirit declared that Lu Li would become their sworn enemy. Lu Li's words in the city were heard. Many people were disappointed. Lu Li was only targeting Cho Qianjun, not the space-time office. Many people wanted to watch the show. If Lu Li fought against two super forces by himself, how interesting would that be? They wanted to watch a show. The more exciting it was, the better. Lu Li's words were intentional. He wanted to numb the space-time office. He didn't want them to be alarmed, and he didn't want Zhuo Qiuyan to change his route. If Zhuo Qiuyan didn't leave the space-time city, then Lu Li couldn't do anything to him. Lu Li was not so arrogant as to go to the space-time city to kill people. Lu Li disguised himself and teleported to the City of Light. But he changed his route from time to time so that he wouldn't attract attention. Because of the Palace of Evil Spirit, many powerful scouts have been teleported here. It was normal that Lu Li kept teleporting. He didn't attract any attention. After a day and a half, Lu Li arrived at a small city near the City of Light. He didn't go to the City of Light rashly. What if there were more than one supreme warrior from the divinity in the city? He must gather some information before he went. The news of the wedding of the young master of the City of Light had spread out. Recently, many people in the city were talking about it. Lu Li had acquired a lot of information easily. Zhuo Qiuyan was here. He came yesterday. He showed up in public and met some people. Zhuo Qiuyan was the most powerful warrior of the young generation of Space-Time Office. He was known as a playboy. What troubled Lu Li was today, Space-Time Office sent over a patriarch, a supreme warrior from the divinity. Even though he had said publicly that killing Cho Qianjun had nothing to do with Space-Time Office was still cautious. They sent over a supreme warrior from the divinity to protect Zhuo Qiuyan. Should I go or not? Lu Li was in a dilemma. If he didn't go now, who knew if he would have another chance in the future? Chapter 1598. Go! After some hesitation, Lu Li decided to take the risk and go to the City of Light. He was not in direct conflict with the Space-Time Office, so they wouldn't expect him to kill Zhuo Qiuyan. After all, he had no quarrel with Zhuo Qiuyan, and he would not provoke the Space-Time Office for no reason. What was more, he had killed Cho Qianjun. Theoretically speaking, he should be hiding instead of going to the City of Light to kill Zhuo Qiuyan. In this way, the Space-Time Office wouldn't know where he was. Then, the City of Light would only have one supreme warrior in the divinity. Lu Li would be fine as long as he was careful. For the sake of safety, Lu Li decided to disguise himself and sneak into the City of Light quietly. Then, he would find Zhuo Qiuyan and run away after he killed him. Disguising himself was easy. Lu Li learned that a family patriarch of a small family was going to the City of Light. Lu Li snuck into the small family and knocked out the family patriarch. He threw him into the wicked bead and took away the family patriarch's invitation and ID token. Today was the wedding day of the City of Light's young master. Zhuo Chuyin would be there. Luli did not teleport over. He went outside the city and entered the city from the north gate. Because of the invitation, Luli disguised himself as a mighty warrior in the divinity. The warriors outside the Castle of Light didn't question him. Luli entered the castle easily and was arranged to sit on a golden table in the plaza. Luli was disguised as a middle-aged man with thick eyebrows and big eyes. He looked strong and rough. The ones sitting next to him were mighty warriors in the divinity as well. They didn't recognize Luli. "Who is this?" an old man asked. Luli took a look and said with a smile, "Lord, you are forgetful. We met last time." That old man was a bit embarrassed. Then he laughed and said, "Oh, it is you. I remember now." The other mighty warriors in the divinity were indifferent to Luli, seeing that he had no intention to greet them. They talked to each other in a low voice and paid no attention to Luli. Luli drank by himself, waiting for the ceremony to begin and for Zhuo Chuyin to show up. Xiejun, the young master of the City of Light, had come out a while ago. He was a dignified young master with good abilities. He had reached the level of a mighty warrior in the divinity. But he was arrogant. He would only entertain some big shots. He didn't even bother to greet someone like Luli. He seemed to have overindulged in alcohol and women. His face was pale and his eyes were unfocused. Today was his wedding day, but his gaze kept drifting towards the beautiful young lady. The Snow Mountain Palace's holy maiden has arrived. Misty Rain Pavilion's 12th young master arrives. A voice came from outside the castle. Luli was surprised. Why were they here? Could they be friends with the young city lord of Light City? Many stood up to greet him, but Luli didn't. He just threw them a casual glance. When he saw Lu Shi, and Xie Jun chatting and Holy Princess bowing coldly, Luli knew that they were just here to show their support as members of the 72 sections. Luli didn't intend to greet them. Zhuo Chuyin hadn't come out yet. If he was recognized now, then he would be in trouble. Moreover, he was here to kill today. Reuniting with the two of them would only implicate them. What a coincidence! Their seats were not far from Luli's. When Lu Shi sat down, he gave them a casual look. He cupped his fists and greeted them. He did not recognize Luli. Holy Princess threw him a glance. Luli did not even look at them. However, when Holy Princess looked at him, she suddenly paused. There was a glint of hesitation in her pretty eyes. Luli was taken aback. He had disguised himself thoroughly. His body had changed a bit, making him taller. Only supreme warriors in the divinity could see through his mask. How could Holy Princess see through it? After a moment of absent-mindedness, Holy Princess looked away. Some young masters came over to greet Lu Shi and Holy Princess. When they looked at Holy Princess, their eyes were filled with passion. It had been years since they last met. Holy Princess was no longer young and inexperienced. She had become more feminine. In particular, the coldness in her bones, which kept people at a distance, attracted men's desire to conquer. What was easy to get was not worth cherishing. The more they could not have, the more they wanted. All men had the desire to conquer. If they could melt the Ice Queen's heart, many men would feel a sense of achievement. Even the young master of the city, Xiejun, came over. He toasted in person and said many flirtatious words. He was waiting for Holy Princess to leave. After a while, the flies finally left. All of a sudden, Holy Princess stood up and toasted to those nearby, which surprised Lu Shi and the others. Why was Holy Princess in such a good mood today? She did not have to toast to others. I think I still have some doubts, Luli sighed to himself. Holy Princess was toasting to him. She toasted to others to fool others. As he had expected, after toasting for half a round, Holy Princess walked to Luli. She picked up her glass and said, "Lord, you look familiar. Have we met before?" Luli stood up and picked up a goblet. "I remember. I think I met you outside the tomb of King Luna." Lu Shi was surprised. Then his eyes glowed with excitement. Luli threw him a glance to stop Lu Shi from coming over. Luli finished his goblet and sat down coldly. He turned to Holy Princess and said, "Holy Princess, don't drink too much. Many people will come to toast to you later. I heard that even the space-time office will send some big shots." "Okay." Holy Princess trembled. She went back to her seat. She and Lu Shi looked at each other. Both of them seemed to be troubled. Luli was here, and he mentioned the space-time office. He must be here for them. Something big was about to happen. "Let's go." Luli gestured for them to leave. Lu Shi looked at Holy Princess, but she did not move. Lu Shi forced a smile. "Patriarchy of Space-Time Office and young Master Zhuoqiu are here." More than half of the people in the plaza stood up as the announcement was made. One of them was a patriarch of Space-Time Office, a supreme warrior in the divinity. The other one was the leader of the young generation and the favorite grandson of Zhuoqiu, the deputy chief of Space-Time Office. Luli stood up as well. He moved closer to Zhuoqiu with a smile. Was he trying to make friends with Zhuoqiu? At the same time, many insects under Luli's feet burrowed into the ground. Zhuoqiu must have some kind of treasure to protect himself. Luli planned to kill him in one fell swoop. Patriarch Qi and Zhuoqiu stood side by side. They glanced over the crowd. Patriarch Qi was here to protect Zhuoqiu. As for the others, he did not bother to deal with them. What? When Patriarch Qi saw Luli, he was taken aback. He noticed that Luli was wearing a mask. The face under the mask was somewhat familiar. Oh no! Like an infuriated lion, Patriarch Qi's mane stood up. A glint of killing intent rose in his eyes. A saber appeared in his hand at once. He was filled with killing intent as he shouted, "Luli!" Patriarch Qi's roar was so deafening that people's eardrums hurt. Many people passed out. Zhuoqiu was confused as well. He asked in surprise, "Grandpa Qi, who is Luli?" Chapter 1599. Luli said it was too late because the worms of the void under his control had entered Zhuoqiu's body. Not just one or two, but hundreds of thousands. Zhuoqiu had already noticed it. He felt something had entered his body. He took a look inside himself, and his face turned ghastly pale. Seeing that Patriarch Qi was about to take action, Zhuoqiu reacted quickly at the critical moment. He yelled, "Grandpa Qi, don't move. Luli, don't do anything rash. Let's talk this out. Nobody move." Zhuoqiu was smart, and he reacted quickly. He knew that as soon as Patriarch Qi moved, Luli would kill him with the worms. Therefore, Zhuoqiu stopped Patriarch Qi in time and talked to Luli, hoping that Luli would accept the negotiation. Hearing Luli's name, a commotion broke out. Some young lady screamed in fear and ran around. It was a mess. That being said, Zhuoqiu's words were deterring enough. Strangely, at that moment, everyone quieted down. Those around Luli were either ready to run or to take out their weapons. At this moment, none of them moved. They stared at Luli with alertness and nervousness. Patriarch Qi and Zhuoqiu looked at each other. Patriarch Qi saw the problem. The murderous intent vanished. Patriarch Qi shouted, "Nobody move. Luli, we can talk." Luli stood behind the crowd, 2,000 feet away from Patriarch Qi and Zhuoqiu. Through the crowd, Luli and Patriarch Qi looked at each other. Luli didn't even look at Zhuoqiu. Buzzing, his wicked bead glowed. 3 hills came out and flew around him. At the same time, he took out the demon slayer. He asked, "What do you want to talk about?" There was nothing to talk about. Luli was determined to kill Zhuoqiu. He would not change his mind, even if the space-time office offered him 100 billion divine sources. He wanted to talk because he wanted Zhuoqiu to think that the matter was negotiable. In this way, he could leave at ease. Zhuoqiu said, "Luli, we don't hate each other, do we? Why did you attack me? I don't think space-time office is against you. We didn't do anything even when you killed Cho Qianjun. Why do you want to do this to me?" Zhuoqiu was a proud man, even condescending. If it were someone else, he wouldn't speak in such a humble manner. For one thing, Luli was too famous. For another, His life was in Lu Li's hands. Although he didn't know what those bugs were, he had a feeling that Lu Li could easily kill them. He had a saint-grade defensive armor, but it was a pity that it couldn't withstand the insect's attacks. He regretted asking his grandfather for a Grand Spirit heavenly treasure if he knew this would happen. Zhuo Yan's expression grew even more unsightly when he sensed numerous worms entering his head. He looked at Elder Qi with a pleading gaze while despair appeared in his eyes. Worms of the void. Elder Qi sent his spiritual will in and easily locked onto that worm. His face turned extremely ugly. Lu Li's worms. Li was. There was no time to think about this. He took a deep breath and said, Lu Li, killing Little Flame will do you no good. You can state your terms, and I will make the decision on behalf of the Space-Time Office. As a patriarch of Space-Time Office, Patriarch Qi was showing respect to Lu Li. Of course, Patriarch Qi was stalling. Everything was negotiable as long as Lu Li didn't kill Zhuo. Lu Li should be calmed down first. Space-Time Office would send powerful warriors over soon. Zhuo will be teleported here soon. Let's talk outside. I will be in a passive position if your Space-Time Office teleports powerful warriors here. Lu Li suddenly flew up and boarded the chariot. Flying toward the north, Lu Li said coldly, Young Masters Zhuo, come with me. Patriarch Qi, I will kill Zhuo if anyone else comes with me other than you. Lu Li was ready to negotiate. Patriarch Qi and Zhuo breathed in relief. Everything was fine as long as they could negotiate and stall for some time. What they were worried about was Lu Li's killing move. Treasures, divine sources, primordial spirits? Those are not a problem. Zhuo could give up anything as long as he could stay alive. Zhuo would give up everything. The priority was to keep Zhuo alive so that Lu Li could take his time to kill him. Space-Time Office would not sit back and do nothing if Lu Li dared to lay his hands on Zhuo. Zhuo and Patriarch Qi looked at each other. They flew up and chased after Lu Li slowly. The warriors were relieved. For them, Lu Li and Patriarch Qi were the sharpest knives. If the two of them were to fight in the fort, many would lose their lives. Lu Li is doing this for us. Holy Princess sighed. She and Lu Shi looked at each other. Both of them were confused. She knew very well that if it were not for the two of them, Lu Li would not have done this. Let's go. Lu Shi looked at Lu Li from a distance. He was a bit disappointed. He had met Lu Li, but there was no chance for him to drink and chat merrily. Some people had started to leave. After all, something big had happened, and Lu Li was known as the god of slaughter. What if he massacred the entire city? Of course, many people wanted to stay and watch. They all knew that Space-Time Office would send many powerful warriors over soon. If they could kill Lu Li and witness the scene, they would have something to brag about in the future. Lu Shi was ready to leave. He knew Lu Li's character very well. Since Lu Li had decided to take action, Zhuo was doomed today. The battle was inevitable. Staying here would be dangerous for one thing. And for another, Lu Li would have concerns, and it would be difficult for him to use his skills. Whoosh! Holy Princess had figured it out as well. She and Lu Shi flew up and vanished into the distance. More and more people were leaving. Many civilians in the city heard that Lu Li was here. They ran away in fear, fearing that Lu Li would massacre the entire city. Lu Li, Zhuo, and Patriarch Qi had flown out of the city. Lu Li stopped on a mountain dozens of miles away from the city. Zhuo and Patriarch Qi were standing on another mountain not far away. Patriarch Qi put a hand on Zhuo's shoulder and secretly poured divine energy into Zhuo's body, trying to contain the worms of the void. Patriarch Qi said, Lu Li, we are out now. What do you want to talk about? Name your price. I only want Little Flame to stay alive. I want a primordial treasure and 100 billion divine sources. Lu Li was demanding an exorbitant price. Patriarch Qi and Zhuo's mouths twitched. Space-Time Office didn't have many primordial treasures. Not even Patriarch Qi could get one. Lu Li wanted primordial treasure right off the bat. Given the space-time office's capability, 100 billion divine sources was not a problem. You don't want to give it to me? Luli flew into a rage since Patriarch Chi did not answer. He controlled all the worms of the void to move. Zhuo Qiuyan's eyes were wide open. He felt a sharp pain coming from his head. He shouted in terror, "No, stop!" Patriarch Chi trembled as he watched Zhuo Qiuyan's head being eaten at a speed visible to the naked eye. He shouted in terror, "Luli, stop. We will give it to you." Too late. Chapter 1600. Zhuo Qiuyan must be killed. How to leave after that was not a problem. Just now, Patriarch Chi was focused on Zhuo Qiuyan, so Luli could fly away at once. But Luli did not want to let go of the worms of the void. Those worms were strong, and Luli wanted to take them back. Therefore, if Luli wanted to run away, he must kill Patriarch Chi. He who strikes first gains the upper hand, will suffer the consequences. When Luli was about to kill Zhuo Qiuyan, he had begun to plan how to deal with Patriarch Chi. The golden mountain flew up, and the green one smashed toward Patriarch Chi. At the same time, Luli controlled some worms of the void to sneak into Patriarch Chi's body from underground. Patriarch Chi was a supreme warrior in the divinity. He reacted quickly. Although his heart was still immersed in the panic of Zhuo Qiuyan's death, his instinctive awareness of danger still made him react swiftly. He sensed something underground and knew that Luli must have used the worms of the void. Patriarch Chi knew that if the worms of the void entered his body, he would die as well. Even if the worms of the void could be contained for now, his abilities would be compromised and he would be killed by Luli easily. He had heard that Luo Yi, Grand Master of the Hall of Darkness, was injured by Luli. Luli was just a super mighty warrior in the divinity, but Patriarch Chi did not treat him as an average warrior. When Luli was still a mighty warrior in the divinity, he could already defeat all the super mighty warriors in the divinity. Now that he had reached the level of a super mighty warrior in the divinity, his abilities would soar. Even though there was a fundamental difference between super mighty warriors and supreme warriors in the divinity, it was better to be safe than sorry. Luli's means were too strange. Hoi! He swung the saber in his hand and slashed at the green divine mountain flying towards him. It was a splendid move. In the sword Chi, one could faintly see thousands of beasts howling and roaring. It was only one move, but it felt like thousands of beasts were attacking. Bang! The mountain was smashed away for more than 100 feet. Patriarch Chi's saber bounced off, and a surge of energy pushed Patriarch Chi back for dozens of feet. How is that possible? Elder Chi's eyes were filled with shock as he stared at the small mountain. The mountain looked inconspicuous. He had thought it was just a piece of average artifact. How could it be so strong? Luli flew over and took the initiative to attack. While he was releasing spatial force, Luli was not trying to suppress Patriarch Chi. Instead, he was trying to slow down Patriarch Chi. At the same time, his demon-slaughtering blade slashed down heavily, and a blade light lit up the sky. Then, it turned twice in the air, and an even more terrifying spatial energy pressed down, causing Elder Chi to be slightly moved. Ghost King Slash. Such a strange attack was very easy to recognize. How could Elder Chi and the others not pay attention to the famous killer moves of the powerhouses in history? He could tell at a glance. He felt his movement speed slow down, and his expression became extremely ugly. This was because he discovered that the light in the sky had dimmed, and a huge mountain range was already pressing down on him. Patriarch Chi had an idea. He decided to attack Luli on his own initiative. If Luli didn't defend himself, he would die for sure when he used his killing move. If he defended, he would have a chance to escape. He suddenly hacked at Luli, and a ray of black sword light whooshed out. The ray of sword light was long and large, and contained tens of thousands of beasts. Before the ray of sword light could get close, Luli could already feel the horrifying energy enveloping him, making him feel cold. Luli did not step back, nor did he stop the Ghost King Slash. The other mountain behind him whooshed over, enlarged, and stood in front of Patriarch Chi. The three mountains could be used for both offense and defense. They were very close to the primordial chaos treasure. If all five mountains could be gathered together, then it would be the real primordial chaos treasure. To Lu Li's surprise, the ray of sword light went through the mountains. Lu Li's pupils contracted as he realized what was going on. The ray of sword light was not a regular attack, but a soul attack. Otherwise, it could not have gone through the mountains. Soul attack? The soul of dragon is counting on you. Lu Li could not step back now, because he was about to defeat Patriarch Chi. If he were to stop now, then Patriarch Chi might dodge, which would make it harder for Lu Li to defeat Patriarch Chi. Supreme warriors in the divinity were too fast. If Lu Li could not defeat Patriarch Chi in one go, he might not have the chance later. Whoosh! The dark ray of sword light went into Lu Li's body. At the same time, Lu Li's Ghost King landed on Patriarch Chi. The golden mountain pressed down. Boom! The whole ground trembled violently, forming a deep pit. The nearby ground was fluctuating layer by layer, and even the walls of Light City hundreds of miles away were shaking. Countless low-level martial artists in the city knelt on the ground in horror, praying to the Lord God. Okay. When the ray of sword light entered Lu Li's body, it turned into a surge of horrifying energy that penetrated into Lu Li's soul. However, the soul of dragon came out in an instant, stopped all the energy, and began to devour it. Making sure that his soul was fine, Lu Li used psychic power to check. When he saw that Patriarch Chi was being suppressed, a cruel grin appeared on Lu Li's face. Coldness grew in his eyes. At first, Lu Li only wanted to defeat Patriarch Chi, but now he changed his mind. He had decided to kill a supreme warrior in the divinity to awe the divinity, the craftsman's sect, and the space-time office. A patriarch of a town shouldn't be enough to hurt the space-time office. Therefore, they wouldn't resort to their trump card. Lu Li could deal with average means. Once he killed a supreme warrior in the divinity, the space-time office and the craftsman's sect might hold back. Maybe things could take a turn? Worms of the void, do it. Lu Li ordered the worms of the void hiding underground. Patriarch Chi was suppressed by the mountain. He could not move at all. He had become a live target. Hundreds of thousands of worms of the void flew over and swarmed into Patriarch Chi's body. Patriarch Chi had a holy grade armor, but the worms of the void could turn intangible. They could pierce through Patriarch Chi's body easily. Lu Li, you're doomed. Your entire family is doomed. Patriarch Chi bellowed. He knew he could not survive. The worms of the void were swarming toward his head. He could not stop them. I don't know if I will die or not, but you will soon. Lu Li sneered. Patriarch Chi snorted and shouted. Lu Li, you have no idea how powerful the four legendary forces are. You have crossed the line of the space-time office by killing Little Flame and me. Once the space-time office uses their trump card, you will not survive more than a month. Also, your family will be wiped out and wiped from the world. Is that so? Lu Li smiled and said, I have killed Zhuo Qiuyan. I have crossed the line of the space-time office. It doesn't matter if I kill you. Go. Lu Li ordered the worms of the void in his mind. The worms of the void chewed quickly. Soon, Patriarch Chi's head was eaten up. A beautiful white armor and an interspatial ring fell off automatically. Come back. Lu Li flew over. He put away the three mountains, the worms of the void, the interspatial ring, and the holy grade armor. He drew a formation in the void with one hand, went through the golden door, and flew away. Your brother Chi. Half an hour later, countless people in the City of Light heard a heart-wrenching roar coming from this side. Chapter 1601. Have you heard? The Azura has done something big this time. Azura? You mean Lu Li? About him killing Zhuo Qianjun? We all know. Zhuo Qianjun is nothing. He went to the Light City the day before yesterday. He sneaked into the wedding of the young master of the Light City. Guess who did he kill? Who? Is it the young master of the Light City? The Light City is one of the 72 sections. The young master of the Light City is nothing. Did he kill Zhuoyin and Patriarch Qi? Zhuoyin and Patriarch Qi, they sound familiar. Wait, Zhuoyin and Patriarch Qi from Space-Time Office? Yes. Is the Azura going to go against nature? How dare he kill Zhuoyin? He can kill supreme warriors in the divinity now. He is not even 100 years old. Good heavens, the second Azura is here. Everyone was shocked. The entire divinity was stirred up. Almost every city was talking about this. Zhuoyin had a distinguished status. He was the most powerful warrior of a young generation in Space-Time Office and Zhuo Qirong's favorite grandson. Who was Zhuo Qirong? He was the most powerful person in Space-Time Office. The master of Space-Time Office rarely showed up. Zhuo Qirong had been representing Space-Time Office. Many people believed that he would be the next master of Space-Time Office. The grandson of the future master of Space-Time Office was killed. Wasn't this news explosive enough? Not to mention that a patriarch of Space-Time Office, a supreme warrior in the divinity, was also killed. It had been years since a supreme warrior in the divinity had been killed. That was the most powerful warrior in the divinity. As long as they did not offend the super forces, they could not be killed. Now, he was killed by a young man. The second Azura was here. Back in the days, the Azura was as fierce as this. He slaughtered his way through the divinity. From an average immortal, he became a supreme warrior in the divinity. In the end, he even made it to the top 10 on the list. Unfortunately, he died in a dangerous place. Back in the days, the Azura was believed to have the potential to overthrow the 4 legendary forces. Unfortunately, he died in the end. Now, Luli was here. He was also rising fast. He had only been a few decades, and he could kill a supreme warrior in the divinity. How similar was the Azura? The entire God realm was in an uproar. Many people were extremely excited. It was as if they had done something world-shaking. Luli had done what they didn't dare to do. They were looking forward to Lu Li continuing to kill until he overturned the 4 super forces. The Space-Time Mansion was enraged. The next day, the Space-Time Office made an announcement. Lu Li had killed an important warrior of the Space-Time Office for no reason, which would be regarded as a provocation and a declaration of war against the Space-Time Office. The Space-Time Office would try their best to kill Lu Li and avenge the deceased. On the day the news spread, the Green Valley Mountain Man sat alone in the backyard and drank for half a day, sighing inwardly. He was right about Lu Li. Lu Li was a miraculous man who dared to do what others did not. However, considering that Lu Li would be surrounded and hunted down by 2 super forces, and that the Space-Time Office might have to use their trump card, the warriors of Green Valley Mountain were filled with worry. Lu Li was not strong enough. Once Space-Time Office resorted to their trump card, Lu Li would die for sure. The 4th day, a joint announcement was made. The divinity was in an uproar again. The Hall of Esoteric and Cabinet of Mystery had made a joint announcement. The 4 super forces were of the same breath and branch. Since Lu Li had declared war against the 2 super forces, the Hall of Esoteric and Cabinet of Mystery could not sit by and do nothing. The 4 super forces would work together to hunt down Lu Li. The 4 super forces offered a huge reward. Anyone who could kill Lu Li would be rewarded with 100 billion divine sources, and the 4 super forces would guarantee the glory of their families for 10,000 years. Anyone who could find Lu Li and assist the 4 super forces in killing him would be rewarded with 10 billion divine sources. The ultimate weapon was out. The 4 super forces' goal was clear. They were mobilizing everyone in the divinity to search for Lu Li. It was too difficult to rely on people from different forces to track him down. They might as well mobilize all the warriors in the divinity. Everyone was an enemy. Wherever Lu Li hid, there would be enemies. He could give himself away at any time. Many people would try their best to find Lu Li. Since ancient times, there were many powerful warriors among the common people. What if someone could find Lu Li and kill him? For many people, 100 billion divine sources was a mountain of gold. The 4 super forces would work together to guarantee the glory of their families for 10,000 years. This was tempting. When the news spread out, the entire divinity was turned upside down. Luli became the target of scorn. If it were not for the fact that he had a strange human skin mask, he would have been found immediately. I can't stay in the divinity anymore. Luli saw the announcement in a small city. He made up his mind at once. If he stayed in the divinity any longer, he would get into trouble sooner or later. It was not a joke to turn every citizen into a soldier. He could be found out if he was not careful. There were too many powerful warriors in the world. But where should he go? Luli was troubled. The world was a big place, but there was no place for him. Go back to the land of Yuyin? He had made such a big scene in the divinity. The news must have spread in the land of Yuyin. If he disappeared from the divinity, many people would suspect that he had gone back to the land of Yuyin. The land of Yuyin was not friendly to him either. If an immortal king family attacked him, he could die in the land of Yuyin. What was more, the 4 legendary forces would be watching. If someone kept teleporting to the north, they would be alerted. If he was ambushed, he would not even know how he died. To the east, to the sea. In the end, Luli thought of a way out. To the east, he could go to the sea. He could hide in a small island and cultivate there for a few years before coming back. By then, he would be out of the limelight. There were so many people in the divinity. They could not keep searching for years. Having made up his mind, Luli teleported away. His route was erratic as well. There were many people teleporting around recently. Luli hid his energy and only went to a small city. He did not attract too much attention. Even if someone did notice, he would change his disguise from time to time. The mask on his face could change at any time. It would be hard to track him down. He teleported all the way to the north and then to the south. His route could not be locked down. It took Luli more than half a month. He teleported day and night. Finally, he arrived at the residence of Silver Dragon. To the east, he would be at the sea. There were many places to go to the sea. Out of instinct, Luli teleported here. There was a mountain of dragons in the residence of Silver Dragon. There was a girl there, his sister. He did not go to the mountain of dragons. He was afraid that someone would be watching over there. He only glanced at a small city from afar, then quickly teleported there. At the seaside, Luli took out a map and took a look. This area was called the Demon Area. There were many islands here. It was said that some ancient races lived here. There were horrifying beings in the sea as well. This island, Luli picked a random route. He was going to the sea to cultivate. Any random island would do. This would give Qi Shi'er a few years of stability. Buzzing, he sent Qi Shi'er out from the wicked bead. She took a look and her eyes glowed. She grabbed Luli's arm and asked, "Brother, where is this?" "The ends of the earth." Chapter 1602. The 4 supreme forces had joined forces to make an announcement and offer a huge bounty. This actually meant one thing. It meant that neither the Space-Time Office nor the Craftsman's sect had used their trump cards or hidden forces. Otherwise, they wouldn't have issued an announcement. If they could kill the Slayer easily, it would be easy for them to kill Luli. The divinity was bustling for a while. After Luli went to the sea for half a month, the divinity quieted down. So many people in the divinity were looking for Luli, but to no avail. It could only mean 2 things. Either Luli's hiding skills were unparalleled and nobody could find him, or Luli was no longer in the divinity. He had fled to the land of serenity or some dangerous place. Of course, many people were still searching. After all, to find Luli and help the 4 forces to kill him would be a reward of 10 billion divine sources. The 4 forces were on the move as well. Unfortunately, after more than half a month, they found nothing. Luli's anti-tracking ability and his ability to hide his identity were impressive. Of course, it was also because the divinity was vast and there were too many immortals. The divinity was like a pond with all kinds of people. It was difficult to find one person. The mask given by Pan Yuqin was a piece of treasure. Not even the super mighty warriors in the divinity could see through Luli's face. Only the super forces had such items. A month later, the 4 forces felt they had been slapped in the face by Luli. The 4 forces had sent out many people and offered a reward of 100 billion. Still, they could not find Luli. If they could not find him in a month, they could not find him in a year or even 10 years. As long as Luli was not killed, the four forces would continue to be humiliated. However, Luli did not harm the foundation of the four forces. Therefore, they could not use their trump cards. They had to keep sending people to search. Luli was deep in the sea. He had been flying for 5 days. His destination was a famous island in the sea, the Stars and Moons Island. According to the introduction on the map, this island used to be a place of exile. Many people who committed crimes in the divinity would go there. The owner of this island was a supreme warrior in the divinity. Luli chose this island because it was more chaotic here. There were many islands nearby. Luli planned to occupy an island and cultivate. If she went to an uninhabited place to cultivate, she would be separated from society, and she sure would be bored to death. Moreover, he could secretly control some puppets to gather information and monitor the nearby areas. That way, he would feel more at ease living here. We'll be there in half a day. There might be more people here, so put on your mask. Luli looked at the map and told Chi-Shi, who had been on cloud 9 for the past few days. She had never seen the sea before. It was her first time seeing the sea and so many strange creatures in the sea. This made her very happy. Chi-Shi put on the mask Luli gave her. Only super mighty warriors in the divinity could see through the mask. Chi-Shi also went into the wicked bead to change. She put on some strange clothes, which made her look more like a girl of an alien race. Luli changed his appearance and dyed his hair. His white hair turned blue and he put on an animal skin cloak, which made him look quite strange. Brother, why do you have to wear such thick clothes? Aren't you hot? Chi-Shi was confused to see that Luli was wearing such a thick robe again. Luli pouted and said, "This will make me look more like a criminal. It is different for what I used to look like. It will be harder for people to associate me with my real identity." Oh, Chi-Shi nodded and didn't overthink it. Luli, on the other hand, put on a bitter smile. He was becoming more and more afraid of the cold. Therefore, he had to wear more clothes. Though it was pointless to wear thick clothes, at least he would feel warmer. Half a day later, they arrived at the island of Stars and Moons. Luli put Chi-Shi back into the wicked bead and went into stealth mode to explore the nearby area. This island was not bad. It was indeed quite large, probably half the size of a prefecture. Luli did not go to the island. It was a mixed bag of good and bad people. What if there were spies from the 4 legendary forces? He did not come to the island of Stars and Moons to settle down. He just wanted to find a small island nearby to cultivate. Therefore, he snuck along the periphery of the island of Stars and Moons and explored the small islands nearby. There were indeed many islands nearby, over 1,000 in various sizes. But all the islands were occupied, either by a group of people or by a small family or force. Luli explored around the Stars and Moons Island for 5 days. In the end, he chose an island that was neither too large nor too small. This island was occupied by a small force, and the owner was a mighty warrior in the divinity. There were not many people on this island, only about 300. They were all average immortals. Luli chose this island because there were 8 small islands nearby. They could work together to build a strong inhibition formation. Also, the Xianxi in heaven and earth on this island was not bad, and the environment was good, suitable for long-term residence. Luli snuck in after he chose the island. For him, the 300 people on the island made no difference. The inhibition formations on the island were of a low level. Luli snuck into the deepest part of the island. He went into a castle, which was the residence of the owner of the Star Island. Luli snuck in as if he was in a deserted place and stood in front of the owner. The owner of the Star Island was only a mighty warrior in the divinity. He could not see through the cloaking armor. But out of instinct, he sensed danger. He took out his saber and looked around alertly. Buzzing, Luli came out and sat in front of the owner. He poured tea for himself leisurely, not at all aware that he had broken into someone else's home. The owner of the Star Island was a middle-aged man. His hair stood on end. He was tense, and his eyes were filled with fear and coldness. The saber in his hand glowed, but he did not make a move. Luli appeared to be a mighty warrior in the divinity, the same as the owner of the Star Island. But the owner of the Star Island had a feeling. If Luli wanted to kill him, it would be a piece of cake. You should be glad that you didn't do it yourself. Otherwise, you would be a dead man now. Luli drank a cup of tea leisurely, looked up, and said with a smile, "You can check your body and see if something strange has entered it." The owner of the Star Island was so nervous that he did not notice anything. The owner of the Star Island checked himself at once, and his face turned pale. Something had entered his body, hundreds of bugs. Those bugs were intangible, so he could not feel it. At the moment, those bugs were swarming toward his head. Luli continued with a smile. "Those bugs are called worms of the void. Have you heard of them? I once used them to kill a supreme warrior in the divinity." Worms of the void? Supreme warrior in the divinity? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.